Welcome to the Transform with Vance podcast, where transformations begin every day, and I am your host, Vance Hines. So let's get started. All right, this is Vance Hines, and I'm here with another DDPY success story, Jeremy Landry. So I'm really looking forward to this podcast. So Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today, man. The sun is shining. We're into spring. And it's just it's a beautiful day.
Now, I got to tell you, you're the first person I've ever talked to that's in Atlantic Standard Time.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it, Atlantic Standard Time?
Atlantic Standard Time, yeah. We're so East Coast, we're even further East Coast.
Yeah, you're outside the Eastern Time Zone.
Yeah, we're on the coast, that's for sure. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada, and where I live is a town called Sackville, and we're basically the border town to the other two provinces. So like half an hour drive will take me to Prince Edward Island, which is a beautiful little spot, and in 10 minutes I'm in Nova Scotia as well, which is another beautiful spot. But yeah, it's good, man. There's like the population of all three provinces are probably the size of, I don't know, Houston, maybe.
Damn. So tell me.
So we're pretty.
I was trying to turn up my headphones a little bit. You sound kind of not quite as loud as I am. Let's see. Say something now. See if that's better.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. Hey. Yeah. You know, the only thing I know about up there is Oak Island. How far are you from Oak Island? Is it Oak Island? What's the one
that's not very far.
That they're searching for treasures on?
Yeah, that
Curse of Oak Island.
The Curse of Oak Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just off Nova Scotia, I believe. We used to read books about it in school. It was always had this kind of folklore, but. I don't know the specifics of it, to be honest with you. I watched the show until I think around season 2. I'm like, when's this treasure coming?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
That was it for me. But yeah, we learned about it in school, but yeah.
So you grew up there?
Yeah, like I said, I'm from Nova Scotia, and all three provinces are fairly close together. So I was born in Nova Scotia, and I grew up in New Brunswick. I've lived on the island, on Prince Edward Island, but I left home at an early age and traveled Canada, basically. So I've lived in almost every major city in Canada. I've drove across it, just ended up back here. I think there's something to be said about your roots, I guess. You know, when I was young, I definitely didn't want to be here. I wanted to be anywhere else. But I got everywhere else at still a young age. So I did my traveling, and I did that whole lone wolf thing for enough years that I was able to get back home, and I still feel young. I'll be 40 in September, but I still feel like I've got a lot of memories to make here now for my children, with my children. It's a good place to grow up, I think.
Speaking of your children, I think that's a very pretty headset you got on.
Yeah, this is my 10-year-old. She styled me with this. Mine are broken. I don't. I carry around one of these things now, Vance. I let everyone listen to what I'm listening to. It's just a speaker. I do my walks usually twice a day. I'll get out for a walk, and I'll bring that, and I'll just listen to my music. But it's always motivational music, so I feel like if someone doesn't like what I'm listening to, I'm like, well, maybe you should start. So yeah, I blare it everywhere I go, trying to spread a positive vibe.
All right. Well, one of the starting questions that I ask everybody is, why you are considered a DDPY success story, just so that you could give the listeners an idea of why we're sitting here interviewing you for your story, just kind of an overall synopsis of your journey, basically.
Sure. Well, the reason that I'm a DDPY success story is because DDPY is what started my entire road to success. My journey started, you know, when I was probably 2 years old. Um, I was taken off the front lawn of my mother's apartment with my two an older brother and a cousin, and shit just stayed like that for the majority of my life. Um, that kind of set the precedent for what the future was going to hold. At 5 years old, I was sexually assaulted by the neighborhood kid, and then stuff like that would just keep happening to me. My mom was, I think, 17 when she had me, so and I had an older brother, so we were very much, we grew up rough, unsupervised, and for the most part uncared for, I think. So that's kind of what started my path, and it kept going. Eventually, I got into drugs and alcohol, and I always thought that it was late in my life, because a lot of my friends were doing drugs and drinking in their teenage years, and I wasn't. In fact, I was against it. I remember at my 13th birthday party, I kicked a bunch of kids out because they brought some marijuana joints. And like, I was a boxer, so I felt like, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't get out of here. So like that happened. They left, but at like 13, I felt like, I knew what was right and what was wrong because of all the wrong that had already happened to me up until that point. Not just the sexual assault, but you have to understand having a teenage mother as well. And she was one of 12 or 13 as well. With a grade 6 education, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what kind of childhood that would be, and that's exactly what it was. It was a very abusive. My mother wasn't. I couldn't tell you one time she's ever said I loved you. I don't have any report cards. I don't have any school photos. I don't have anything of any significance of childhood. I don't have regular photos of me. I was born in '82, so it's not like the time had passed when people had photo albums or keepsake. There was just nothing, barely fed kind of deal. And my stepfather took us in when I was 5, but he was a workaholic and an alcoholic. So I didn't see him often, but when I did see him, it was usually what that kind of relationship presents. And there was a lot of fist fights between them, a lot of turmoil, and a lot of abuse against myself as well. So I, like I said, eventually it was just a matter of time before I got into drugs or alcohol, I think. No matter how hard I tried to prevent myself from going there, I had the idea at such a young age to be a good person because I had seen how bad people are to themselves and to myself. So it was very important to me to go against the grain that I was shown. But eventually, you just keep on piling on trauma and piling on trauma. It's going to be too much. I don't think we're meant to take that much. So I found drugs and alcohol. And I read in a book by Russell Brand that when he finally met the therapist that made a difference, it was because she said, "Congratulations that you found, heroin." And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about? No one has ever said, 'Good for you for finding drugs.'" But what she meant was, good for you for not taking your life, and good for you for finding something to hold on to. Unfortunately, it was drugs, but now you're here. And I feel like drugs and alcohol and that party scene is what kept me from the inevitable, because I was aware of how much my life sucked and I didn't want it. So it would have just been a matter of time before, it was too much for me. So I did. I found drugs and alcohol, and then I lost control very early. I got myself into really bad situations. I've been involved in some bad situations. I've overdosed with my daughter in my bed, my infant daughter in my bed. I went into cardiac arrest. And that was at my in-laws' house as well. I watched my stepfather die in my hands while I was high on cocaine. I just had all this shit was now stuff that I was creating, and I was creating it to feel better, if that makes any sense. And obviously it wasn't. But it got to the point where, once again, the drugs and the alcohol were not doing what I wanted them to do. And it was just, I was fed up and I was ready to take my life. I entered rehab for the third time. And while I was there, I came home and I watched the resurrection of Jake the Snake. And watching Jake's story and seeing the similarities in childhood, the similarities with his father, living in his father's shadow, all of the sexual abuse that happened to him through childhood, the drug of choice, we did the same kind of drugs. And I think like that same that same financial background, like when you grow up that kind of poor, you share that with other people. I mean, there's poor and then there's poor, and I think the poor that I grew up in was not just financial, it was emotional, and he did as well. So I watched this documentary and I told myself, if Jake can do it at like 30 years older than me, which to me meant that's 30 years more of the things that he could have done to himself. So yeah, I saw it and I knew he was real. So I followed suit. I ordered the DVDs and I just locked myself in my garage. And this was from like the beginning. I started DDPY very early on in my recovery. I believe it was like within the first 4 months. Or 6 months, but regardless, it was the only recovery plan I had to stay off crack, cocaine, alcohol, speed, partying, all of that shit. This was the only thing that I was using to combat all of these demons that I had. So hindsight, it probably wasn't the smartest idea, but it's all I had. And I had already given up. So if this wasn't going to work, it wasn't really any sweat off my back, because I was ready to go anyway. And to go, I mean like leave this earth. So if it didn't work, then it didn't work. That was it. I wasn't going to search for anything else. I was done. So I did hold a lot to the DDPY, but at the same time, I didn't hold a lot to my life. So it wouldn't be no surprise if it didn't work. But I did know the significance of it. I locked myself in my garage and I followed the book. And what I learned in those moments of holding during countdowns or just waiting for him to switch moves. Like, I don't know how I heard him, to be honest with you, because the dialogue in my head was so intense and so significant that I used that time to change my way of thinking, to change my way of feeling. And then every once in a while, I'd tune in out of my head and I would hear Dallas say something positive, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then I'd get back in it. And then, like, good stuff just started to happen to me. I had to put in the work. I had to, physically bust my ass. I had to, stop eating shit. I've always done whatever I wanted my entire life. So if I wanted to eat shit at 3 o'clock in the morning, or if I wanted to eat shit at 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever, it didn't matter. I did what I wanted when I wanted. During the time of DDP yoga, I developed a different way of thinking to not be that guy, so DDPY really did change my life. And I think the timing that it came into my life couldn't have been better, because not only did it help me get off drugs and alcohol, but it created a new person that will never need those things again. Like, I'm healing myself. And it's all because I started doing this program. And it gave me the time to contemplate what I wanted and who I was. And then I started seeing physical results. And then it's like, what is going on? Really, like, this is working. I'm losing the weight. I'm getting physically in shape. I'm off. Like, I'm talking, man, like, I smoked a lot of crack cocaine. I did a lot of powdered cocaine. I'm daily. Like, this is years. I often feel that people don't have a real sense of who I was because of who I am now. So a lot of the time I'm kind of in my own head, and I'm shocked because, like, I don't think people will ever really know who I was or where I was, or what I was capable of, because of how I am now. And I guess that's a great sign, but for me, it's like, I wish people really knew the depth of where I was and to where I am now, because I think that's super powerful. But I think the fact that I've become that person to the point that people would have no idea any of the shit that I've been through or done, I think that's like mission complete. So the point is, you asked why, and it's because I absolutely changed my life, and I did it in a positive manner, in such a way that has influenced numerous people. And I think I'm a perfect example of, there's absolutely nothing that is too much if you do it, if you believe it, if you feel it, all of these things. But there's nothing. I mean, yourself, Vance, like, how much weight you've lost. To me, that's one of those things that just don't add up. Like, how is that possible? That I'm not even talking the physical weight, but the mental strength that it had to have taken for you to lose the physical weight that you've lost. And no one will ever know, because no one will ever be in your head, but they can see. And if they've got a thought in their head, then they should know what it would take, but have no idea. And I feel the same thing with myself. Like, until you've, smoked thousands of dollars of crack in a crack shack in downtown Vancouver with people with half bodies, then you don't really know. And that's why I am where I am, is because I literally, in my opinion, did the unthinkable. There's no way I was coming out of this, let alone where I am. So it's just, and also my message now is that everyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. And that's where I am. Vance, quick, I'll end with this. I just quit smoking. cigarettes. So I've been smoking cigarettes for 25 years, and for the first time ever, I've quit, and I'm on week 3. So like, guys, whatever you want, you can do. I am not special in any sense other than the fact that I'm doing something special. And what I'm doing special is showing people that we can change. If we're aware of the change that we want, then we are capable of creating that change. So that's it. And I'm kind of a hard ass in that sense as well. And as well as I do, like, get off this fairy tale bullshit. Get the work done. If you're serious, then let's do it. Step 1, let's go. Whatever your step 1 is, it doesn't matter. Let's go. You have to get it done. And that's it. I think I can only say what helped me. And what helped me was me kicking my own ass. I was doing it anyway for being a piece of shit. I was not easy on myself. Like, I did a bunch of horrible things. I was a horrible, horrible person. And I beat myself up for it. Whenever I would go out and cheat on my wife and do drugs and whatever else I was doing, when I would come home 24 hours later, I would face the music. And I was able to face the music because the last 6 hours of that 24 hours, I was sitting in a field somewhere beating myself up for all the shit that I had just done in that, that previous day. So when I came home, she would, rightfully so, lose her shit on me. And there would be things that I would be thinking while listening to her rip on me that, like, I was saying at the same time because I had just said it 20 minutes ago. So it's like I just would always beat myself up. So, like, well, if you can't stop beating yourself up, then at least do it for the right reasons, So I stopped beating myself up for being a piece of shit, and I started beating myself up to not be a piece of shit. It was like, come on, man. I already known I could take it, so I just put it in the right direction.
So, I'm just curious, how long, so you're married now?
Yeah.
How many kids you got?
I have my oldest daughter is in Vancouver. She's 15. She lives with her mother. I haven't had any contact with her in 10 years. So that's something that I've been working on during this time as well, in order to get into the States for the jacked transformation and for the Positively Unstoppable Challenge. I had to get all my ducks in a row. That means I had to pay child support that I hadn't paid, fines, tickets, all of that shit. So during that time is kind of when I spoke to a lawyer and, brought up that this is something that is still a pretty deep issue with me. Like, not having my daughter in my life or any contact with her in the last 10 years has been by far the most detrimental aspect in my life. I never think about getting molested. I never think about my mom beating the shit out of me. I never think about, that shit that's happened to me. I think about Father's Day with my little girl in school when everyone's making a Father's Day card. I think about that. I think about, her seeing a counselor. I think about how hurt she must be, confused. And, like, I take full responsibility for it. Unless you've lost a child, again, I think everything's specific, but it's a different kind of hurt. And that's, make no mistake, that's what's happened. I guess you also have to understand that coming from a broken family, I've got 9 brothers and sisters. I talk to one of them. My dad and my mom both come from huge families. I have many cousins that I don't talk to.
Where's your mom
Anyway,
now?
it's
Where's your mom
yeah.
now?
My mom?
Yeah,
Where's my in I don't know.
you don't keep up
I
with it.
haven't spoke to her since I got married. No, I did, man. I did for my entire adult life, and it was just always the same shit. Except it started affecting my children. Like my girls never got a phone call for a birthday, a phone, nothing. And it's not like we weren't speaking, so it was just like she just didn't do it. No concern for my kids. Um, but then she would come over and just show up out of the blue to tell me something that's happened in her life. Or it's just I'm just like, look, I don't need any of this half-ass shit. You are nothing to me, and you're lucky that I'm even talking to you as far as I'm concerned. But I'm gonna draw the line when you start like, having nothing to do with my kids or not. You know,
How many kids total?
I know the pain of having someone in your life, and sorry,
How many kids total do you have?
I have three. So three girls. I have Maddie and Poppy, who live with Sarah and I. Maddie's 10 and Poppy is 5. So
How long you been married with your current one?
Sarah and I have been married for 3 years, and we've been together for 15 years.
Yeah.
So
And then
she's been through the ringer with me.
that was my next question. How long have you been clean and sober?
Just over 2 years. So 815 days, 816 days, something like that.
Now I know you said it earlier. Do you do any type of NA or AA or anything like that?
I did when I was in my addiction. Like, another thing I don't think people realize is like this was no overnight thing. I spent, God, the last 6 years of my addiction trying to not be addicted. I went through many different types of programs and rehab facilities and counselors, and like I worked on things that were causing my addiction. Like I had known that the sexual abuse I suffered as a kid was a huge factor in my drug addiction, because it was just like cocaine was what did it for me. It was that's kind of it fed the demons from being sexually assaulted and abused. And then once it gets a hold of you, like that's it, man. It's not like, it's different than drinking. I know drinking is also a problem, which I drank, God, since I was probably, well, I mean, to be honest with you, I first started drinking alcohol when I was small enough to sit on my dad's lap and steer the steering wheel in the pickup truck. So we'd go on the backwoods for backwood drives, and I would finish the bottoms of his bottles of beer. Now, this was not a traumatic event. This was a great memory for me as a kid, and I always chased that. Like, my idea of heaven is going for a drive with a case of beer on a dirt road. But it's been that way since I was 5 years old. So sorry, I lost track there. Sorry, what were you saying, Vance?
Well, I think I was. I asked you about how long you've been clean and sober, and you started to
Right.
talk about all of the different. I mean, how long you been trying to quit for 6 years before you
Right.
found DDP yoga?
Yeah. Right. And that's kind of that is where it happened, right? Like it wasn't overnight. It was continuing to try and continuing to fail. But I never did anything about it when I'd get some time in, and it was just just a waiting period before it would happen again. And for me, I associated drinking with like happiness. I never did drugs to get happy. I drank to get happy. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing. It took a lot to get through and to finally stop. But now it's like I'm not even that same person anymore. So I don't have any concern with relapsing because I'm not. It wouldn't be a relapse. It would be a first time. It would be the last time, but I'm not that person anymore. For it to be a relapse, well, then it would. You know what I mean? It would. I'm not that dude anymore. I'm the furthest thing from him. So.
What do you think was it that made the switch? What do you think it was that that really got you in this whole different frame of mind, or to be the person you are today?
Have you ever been food poisoned?
Shit, I don't know. Not that I know of.
Not that. So when I was younger, got food poison like 3 times, and then I actually got food poisoning, and I was like, huh. So this is what food poisoning is really like, and it was the worst thing ever. I'd never I'd never said I was food poisoned again. I never made that excuse ever again after I really got food poisoning because it sucked. Well, during my addiction, there was several times that I was going to kill myself until I really was going to kill myself. I had said it and I had felt it probably in 20 years a half a dozen times, to the point where I've like pulled knives, I've carried it, I've waited on the bridge, fairly close times, or so I thought, until it really sunk in, until I really got, that food poisoning. And when I knew that like this is it, like I'm going to fucking kill myself, that was it, and like I said, like this is it, this is my last trip to rehab. Nothing's going to stop me from doing this. But again, my life was such shit for so long that I wasn't holding my breath that it was going to work. It was kind of like I'm last ditch effort. Like I knew that I was going to kill myself. Like I was done with life, and I knew it was real because I didn't care. I thought that my daughters, my wife, anyone that loved me would eventually get over it, because I've also suffered loss, and I'll be the first one to say it. Like you get over it. You might not get over it, but like life goes on. So I was just like, and that happens to all of us. So I was like debating myself to kill myself, because people do it all the time. People continue with their life all the time. It's happened. I've lost, I was high on cocaine when my stepfather died with his hand in my hand. And I'm like, and here I am. So I use that as excuses to be like, no matter what, they'll be all right. That was the only concern that I had of leaving them. But I wasn't even concerned. It was just like, it was just a void of feeling for my family. So that was it, man. I knew that I was going to take my life, and that's what, again, that didn't change. It just stopped being the forefront. It's like once I got out of rehab and I waited for those DVDs to come in, like it was go time in my mind. I started walking, like rainstorms, hailstorms, snowstorms, it didn't matter. I was just walking, and I was thinking during this whole time, and I was doing the stuff that I learned while I was in rehab. Like I was reading affirmations, I was reading literature, was checking out a bunch of YouTube videos. I was putting in the work that I needed to before the DVDs arrived. I kicked people out of my life. I stood up for myself. Old friends would show up with booze. Like literally show up drunk with bottles of booze. Heard I just got home from rehab. So, as far as I'm concerned, that was putting in the work, because that's not naturally who I am. Even if it's against my own safety, I'd be like, oh yeah, what's going on? Come on in, buddy. You know, even though I'm not going to drink, I'm still going to let you be a fucking idiot in front of me and put me at risk. Like, I wouldn't stand up for myself. So during this time, when those instances happened, I told them, hit the bricks, you know, and to the point where I was like shaking because that's not who I am. I always just easy go. But then I was just like, no, you know what? Fuck these people, man. Like, am I really going to risk having a sip of his beer because I can't tell him to fuck off? You know, he shows up at my house drunk at 10 o'clock at night, 2 weeks after getting home from rehab. Fuck this clown. What do I owe him? Nothing. So I did. You know, my neighbor came over drunk while I was in the gym working out with my daughter and wife, and like whispered for her to come over to the corner and was like, I need you to get me something, and showed her a picture of a bottle of wine. She wanted her to go to the liquor store for her because she was drunk. We don't even have a relationship with this woman. To go to the liquor store to buy her a bottle of wine, and then like had the audacity to kind of like hide it from me in my own house, right? And so anyway, I left furious because, and as I was leaving, she was like, "Oh, I might owe you $1 as well." So she didn't even have enough money to pay for the booze, and it was during a workout. Stopped our workout to ask, not to ask, but to sneakily tell her, "I need you to go get me something," and we have no relationship with this woman. So I leave because like way too much. I was about to start crying because I just couldn't get away from it. No matter what, man, this is my own house and I got my neighbor coming over now drunk. Like, it's very triggering to see people in that way, right? Because as it should be, right? It was very traumatic for me to live like that. So yeah, anyway, I went inside and I was like, no, you know what? Here's an opportunity, man. Fuck this. This is crazy. If you tell anyone this story, they're going to be like, what the fuck? So why am I hiding inside my house? You know what I mean? Because that's not who I was. So I went out and I was like, I need to talk to you. I took the lady to the side. Her son came over. Like, she brought her son. I was like, you need to go in there. I was like, look. I explained to her what's going on. I'm fucking 2 weeks out of rehab. You're coming over here. You interrupt me and my family from working. I'm still sweating. You interrupt me. And then you do this and you ask her, you disrespect me by asking her to go get you wine and then tell her that you don't even have enough money for it. I'm like, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had just come out of rehab. And I'm like,
that makes a difference.
I'm not going to play this stupid game. Yeah, I'm not. You know, what's the difference? Also, I'm not going to play this stupid game with you, right? Like, you know what's up. So anyway, I did that work, man. I did what I needed to do until the DVDs came, and then when the DVDs came, it was just like I had something to focus on, right? Because during those several months that I was waiting on the DVDs, I was stranded. I was by myself. All I had was the workbooks that I had brought home from rehab. So once I got the DVDs, man, it was like party time. Go in and I just followed the routine, man. Went to town.
So tell me, how high did you get in school?
So I went to grade 10, and then I dropped out, and I just like couch surfed and moved to a major city, hours away from home with a girlfriend. And then I went back to high school at 19 in grade 12, and they kicked me out because I just lied about my transcripts. I was like, so they got the transcripts and were like, you need to start in grade 9. I was 19 years old. I was not going to start in high school. So I quit, and then I went to college at 30 years old for early childhood, and really excelled in that.
So you never actually got
that was it.
high school certificate or diploma or anything like that?
Never got a high school. Nope.
How much
Nope.
college did you do?
And to be fair, so in college I did a year, and I was probably the top student in my class. I was the only male for early childhood and care. High 90s on all of my exams and projects. And that was like at the height of my crack addiction. Like
Stayed up, you
I
could
was
stay
smoking.
up and study all the time, I guess.
I didn't study.
That was good.
I just was, man, I don't know. I've always kind of, there's some things that I've been natural at, and that was one of them. And it fit me because, although I was hurting and living the life that I was living, my heart was still in the right place. And I wanted to be an impact in children's life, a positive one. Like, I was a closeted crackhead, for several years. I don't know how that's possible, but yeah. So anyway, back to the school. I was like at the height of my crack addiction.
I mean, I think
Sorry?
I think we try to give our kids something that we didn't. Two things. We either want to give them the good things that we had, and if we're unable to, that makes us feel like an inadequate parent. Or if we felt like we didn't get something growing up, then we want to make sure our kids get that. And
Yep.
like my father, I use him as an example. When he grew up, his biological father wasn't around, and they were here, and they had separated, and so he wanted to make sure, he he wanted to make sure there was a loving patriarch person in our lives growing up, and that was important to him, that he had, he and stability, because he got shipped from relative to relative, kind of passed around through some of his childhood, and so he wanted to make sure we had that, and it sounds like that might have been why you were going to get that early childhood stuff. You were trying to give your kids something that you didn't have. I mean, that's just my knee-jerk reaction of what it sounds like to me.
I agree 100%. In fact, when I met the administration's guy, you have to kind of have an interview and tell him, why you're getting into it, and that was it, man. Is that, like, even I never lost myself, in the sense that, like, I was always aware of the bad that I was doing and the bad that I was living. But I was also aware that I was doing it out of hurt and out of, like, a reaction. I knew, but it wasn't me. Like, when I did bad things, it was usually to myself. You know, I never hurt anyone. I guess purposely, and that was always done to me as a child. Again, it was just, I wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't built for the family that I had, because out of all of those people, they all turned out how you would expect if you knew their circumstances. And you could have told this from a very early on stage. With me, I didn't turn out like them mentally, but all the other things were there. Like, I've gone to jail, I've got into drugs. Alcohol was my best friend, so I did turn out like you would think as well, except it never did the same thing up here. My brothers and sisters and cousins, family members, they all are products of their environment, but mentally as well. And although physically I became a product of my environment because of the roads I went down, never once, not even from day one, like from my very first memory, I knew that these people were the wrong type of people. And I guess it probably has to start with my mom, the person that's supposed to care for you and show you, those things. And my dad wasn't around, so I didn't have that. So my view was like, everyone's talking about how your mom's like, the angel and the best person. I'm like, what? How come I didn't get that? So yeah, I don't know. I never connected with the same mentality that my family members had. And thank God, because now I'm here and they're still where they are. But the difference is like I can get out of it now. Now that I don't have drugs and alcohol weighing me down. I still have side effects from that. I still have depression, bipolar now, PTSD. I still have all of the side effects, but like at least I'm not there, and I would much rather be miserable and aware and try to fix it than to be miserable and unaware, and not do anything about it. And that's where the difference lies, I guess.
Did you ever do any jail time?
Not any extensive time, no. Nights. The most I've ever done was a week, and that was in solitary confinement. That was shitty. Yeah, I got picked up for an assault charge that I had never gone to court for. So there was a warrant. This warrant was for like 4 years. I went 4 years without getting caught or picked up, I guess. And then one night I got picked up, and the jail in the town that I was at is just a local jail. So we have RCMP, which is like our Canadian-wide police service, and then some towns still have local police. So I got picked up by the local police, and then they brought me to their jail. Realized that I had a warrant out, so that means that I needed to stay there until Monday. However, because they were a local jail, they didn't do that anymore. So they shackled me, hands to feet, threw me in the back of a van, and drove like 2 hours to a correctional facility, and threw me in there for the weekend. And then I don't think it was till Wednesday I got out, but I didn't stop then either. It didn't stop me. As soon as I got out, it was like party time. I did not care. Another time I assaulted someone for a drug dealer, and ended up going to jail. And when they gave me my phone call, I called my drug dealer and told him that I was in jail for beating up this guy that he asked me to. And then when they let me out, I just took a cab straight to his house and did more cocaine. So there was nothing was stopping. But that was the extent of my jail time. I've been in the drunk tank several times when I was younger, but
were you like someone who did those jobs for the drug dealer?
I did, but it wasn't like that's what I did. I was always a loose cannon. I'd been in over 30 street fights, just for shit, right? And if someone asked me to do something and offered me something to do it, well, they'd know that I'd be the guy to ask, So, no, I didn't work for anyone, but people knew me and knew what I would do, and I was that idiot, man. Like, and the dude that I punched was like just the guy's ex's new man, So it was just like stupid shit. That wasn't even for a debt. There were other instances where money was collected, but for the most part, it was just like, ask Jeremy. He's like the craziest fucker, And that was it. I was just crazy, I guess.
What made you travel across Canada? Tell me a little bit about that.
So again, coming from no real structure with family, as soon as I was physically able to do what I wanted as far as living and taking care of myself, I was like, see you later, So opportunities just presented themselves. I had a friend who was in the military in Ontario, who is the guy that I kind of started my hard drug days with. He just passed away actually just last year from an overdose. He was there. He just wanted someone to live with, and again, like, people knew me. They knew that, like, I didn't say no to a lot of things. Like, why not? I didn't have anyone to care for. I didn't have anyone that cared for me, but I was always charismatic and friendly, and people liked me. So he offered to take me to Ontario with him. So while he was in the military, I was living in his Pathfinder, his Nissan Pathfinder, in the parking lot on the barracks. Um, and yeah, just started selling drugs and using them quite frequently, and living off girls. I would just go from I'd pick up one girl and stay with her for X amount of days, and then go party, find another girl, live with her for X amount of days, and that's what I would do for at least a year and a half. Just party and live off women. And then things got hairy. So we became friends with an ex-convict, and we had just met him as he had got out. We didn't know this at the time, but he had just got out for either aggravated assault or attempted murder, and he had served 7 years. But again, we didn't know this, nor did we care. But we became friends with him, and he was a crack dealer. So my friend and I were like, all right, I guess we're going to start smoking crack. So we did, and just kept living the same way we were living, except now we had some muscle behind us because this guy was like a gangster from Toronto. And it just like opened the opportunity to like do whatever you wanted as far as like the other side of the law went. So like we were, I don't know, doing a lot of bad things during that time. And yeah, when it got hairy, was our dealer ended up stabbing a biker several times. And I ended up so during this time that our drug dealer stabbed the biker, he called me and my friend and told us what happened. So we had to go get rid of a sawed-off shotgun that we had and the potential murder weapon. So like nothing, we went to the place where this happened, listened to him say what was going on, looked at the blood all over the place, and in a hurry because the cops aren't there yet. So he hands me a bag with the knife in it, and I handed it to my friend. He put it in a duffel bag, and then he told me to go get Betsy. Betsy is what we called the sawed-off shotgun. So I went into his bedroom. I got the sawed-off, put it in the bag, took off, immediately got out of the building, and drove around, and losing it. Like, what the hell are we going to do? So I mean, I've already said this, so I think I can say it again because the guy didn't end up dying. But I took the knife and I disposed of it in a sewage drain in like the suburbs. And then I drove 45 minutes outside of town to where I was staying with one of my girlfriends. And I just put the shotgun under my mattress now. So none of this was like overly shocking, you know? It was kind of the life that like I knew I was in, and I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. So I think a day passes and we go back to his place, and we start seeing little weird instances like two guys in the field talking, and then we see a white car zoom in behind, and then we see a white van leave, and the guy is like, something's up, you know, like those two guys shouldn't be. We're on like the 13th floor of a condo building as well. So he's like, what are those two dudes talking over there in the field for nothing? And they see this white car and a white van. This is just a day after the stabbing incident. So he asked me to go downstairs to see if I see anything. So the elevator is closed. So I take the stairs, and when I get to the bottom of the stairs, I see a team of undercover cops with a hydraulic battering ram, and they kind of make eye contact with me, and then they continue to talk about their plan. So I walk out, and by the time I get out to the building, I go to yell to them, like, get out. I hear this chaos, and they ended up taking him away. So we ended up jetting out of there again. Long story short is that I ended up taking his infant and the mother to his child to my place, half an hour, 45 minutes outside of town, where I now have the shotgun. And we stayed there for a month, and he ended up getting arrested, but the biker won't rat, so they know he did it, but because the biker's not being cooperative, they can't keep him for too long. So that during that time, I was able to kind of like look at my situation and be like, what the hell is going on? So I had another girlfriend that I was seeing, and just one day I packed what clothes I could into a grocery bag, and I went to see this girl because I was going to hitchhike back to New Brunswick and just leave the entire situation, which was also potentially dangerous as well, because I took his child and his child's mother to live with me to take care of them while he was now in prison. So that could have been, what are you doing? So anyway, I went to see this girl before I left, which was not the girl I was living with. And I told her I need to get the hell out of here. I told her as little as possible, but because I didn't know, I knew this guy was a biker, and I don't mean like an established biker. So I didn't know if what was coming my way, for instance. So I told her I'm leaving, and she said, just by chance, man, I swear. She said, my father's going to New Brunswick like tomorrow. Now this is like, it's over a 24-hour, it's quite the jaunt. So yeah, I just hopped in and see you later. And then little opportunities like that kept presenting itself, where I went back the second time to Ontario, did things differently this time. And then I had a cousin reach out to me while he was living in Alberta. He said, hey, you want to come, I've always been a people pleaser, I guess, and I think that kind of helped me to go wherever I went across Canada. And girls, I'll be honest with you, man, I lived off of women. Like, they'd fall in love, and I would just, use them, more or less. Just use my charm. But at the same time, I think it was like all I knew, and it was survival, and I didn't use the women as far as my intentions. I was just with them until I wasn't with them. But yeah, that's it, man. Just I used people, but I used people who were using me. and that's it. Yeah.
And did you ever do much regular work? I mean, you're 39. What type of work have you done over your life that that like regular work?
So roofing was probably my number one thing. I enjoyed that. In my 20s, I did a lot, probably 6 or 7 years. And yeah, that was it. I've done odd jobs. I used to like dig ditches, literally, take oil tanks out of the ground. But with that being said, landscaping as well. For the past 10 years plus, I haven't done anything. I've literally just been a drug addict. Any job that I had only lasted long enough to get a paycheck, or two, or until like drugs came first. So it didn't matter what job I had or how cushiony or what it was. It did not matter. It was like drugs. So I was a bartender, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to be, but Yeah, just odd jobs, and other than that, like they didn't last long either. You know, it's funny, man. When you're a drug addict, you find. You know, I never personally like robbed anyone, and I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on drugs. You know, so you don't necessarily have to be a thief or, you know, a crook. You find it, and especially like we're manipulators. You know, it's not that difficult to get money from someone. You know, it was you use what you know, I guess, when you're in that state.
So tell me, what's the difference between a cocaine high and a crack high?
I think just the immediate power. So cocaine is a euphoric feeling is almost a slow release. Um, so I guess to sum it up, it's almost like an orgasm, really. The effects of cocaine, but it can be used over an amount of time, and you know, I really am not trying to promote it in any way, but there are people that use coke regularly that you probably know, you know,
Yeah.
and that you'll never know that they actually ever did it. But I bet you there's someone you know that does coke that you're unaware of. You can do that with cocaine. You can't do that with crack. You know, first of all, it's immediately all the effects that cocaine gives you, crack gives you immediately. Um, and and the thing is like there's no you can do a line of cocaine and then go do something and then come back and do another line. When you're smoking crack, you're not smoking crack and then going to do something. You're smoking crack until it's gone and everything around you and everyone around you is gone. You know, so that's the difference between crack and cocaine is it's a slap in the face to a kick in the nuts.
See, when I was growing up, I grew up I graduated high school in '83, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, cocaine was a big drug back then, but crack was just seemed to be starting to catch hold, and it always rumored that if you ever did it once, you were addicted to it immediately. And I don't know if I've ever even seen any crack cocaine, but it seemed to start through the early '80s or in mid '80s and grow into the '90s, and keep growing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, did you ever get into heroin?
No, I never. The reason I never got into heroin, I guess. I mean, I got into other um, drugs similar to heroin, but I never. I always liked to party, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So um, heroin is kind of, one of these things, right? It's a downer. I never saw any appeal in downers. I just always wanted to party. Until I didn't want to party, and then it was just like I didn't need anyone. I just needed, a closet and a lighter. You know. No, I never did that. But with that being said, I've literally there was a time when I had done every drug I knew existed except heroin. Now it's not the case, but there was a time in my life where every drug that I knew of I had done with the exception of heroin.
So tell me about the overdose. Tell me about, you said you overdosed with your daughter in bed.
In this room. Yeah, in this room, on that bed. So we were here. We had we were staying with her parents, and I had been out all day drinking, and then I was with my cousin, and we started doing coke. So because we had spent the day completely drinking, it was like it's different. If you spend the whole day drinking, you're only going to reach a certain level of inebriated from me, because it's like it's paced and it's all day. So it was one of those days where it was like day drinking, and then nighttime came around, so we started doing coke. but we'd only done a little bit of cocaine because it was mostly drinking. And then a female friend of mine I saw outside of the bar was crying. So I asked her what was wrong, and she said her ex-boyfriend, the father of her children, was going to kill himself, and that he was writing these suicidal notes to her and all this shit because of whatever they had going on. So I told her not to worry about it. It was a cry for attention, blah, 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 don't worry. So I think like an hour later, I ran into her again. She's still crying. I said, okay, you know what, fuck it. I'll take a drive out to his house just to see if that'll make you feel better. So I went out. I think I took a taxi, but who knows, to be completely honest with you. So I got there, and sure enough, what I had thought was happening. He was crying wolf. But anyway, not to say he wasn't still affected, but it was definitely a woe is me party. So I did my best to cheer him up, and then he took out some pills, some capsules, and said it was like oxydilata, something. It was Oxycontin. So anyway, he started crushing it up, and I had never done it before, and I had not even known about them at this point. So I ended up doing like 2 lines, I think, which I still don't know. I've never touched them since. So I did this Oxycontin, and then his girlfriend shows up. I said, all right, you guys are fine. I'm leaving. I went back downtown, continued to party. I think at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking here after the bars are closing, and I run into another friend, and he also has one of these oxys. Now, my drug experience is more. So I took one, and I just popped it, and then invited him to my house, or to here. We went downstairs, and I guess I just started getting completely like incoherent. I was not making sense. So we left, and somehow I made it to the bed where my wife was sleeping with I think she was probably 1 at the time. And she took out her phone and started recording me snoring because I was snoring so obnoxious. I was being so loud and just like making all these really weird noises. So she's filming this to show me in the morning how much of an asshole I was. You know, like, this is what I have to deal with. You come home at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, so she's taping this, and then all of a sudden the filming stops. And it's because I stopped breathing. My tongue got locked on the roof of my mouth. And I went into cardiac arrest. So she screamed for her mom. Her mom came down, took our daughter out of the bed, and I'm still frozen and choking on my tongue, more or less, going into cardiac arrest. So not knowing what's going on, her mom says, slap him. So she slaps me and nothing. So she's like, what do we do? What do we do? So she gets some water. They throw water on me, still nothing. So they call 911. And my wife talks to the 911 operator, and she says, he's a drug addict. I don't know what he's done, but he's probably done something. So she said, you need to get him off the bed to perform CPR. So she was like, I can't, because I was 250 at the time. Right? So she couldn't pull me off the bed. So I think her and her mother both ended up grabbing a leg and sliding me off the bed. And then they talked her through CPR, or compressions, I suppose, until the paramedics showed up. And then the paramedics shot me with naloxone, which is a blocker for the shit that, fentanyl and all that other garbage. So they shot me with that. They did CPR. They got me too. I woke up on the stretcher, going down the hallway, And then I woke up again the next day in the hospital with a catheter and tubes hooked up to me, and my wife sitting there. She wasn't my wife at the time either. So I was kind of confused. She was like, "You overdosed," and I'm like, what? And then I was just kind of in shock because I didn't know what I had overdosed from, or I don't remember that night. It was just like, what the fuck is going on? I woke up in a hospital looking at a lights and her telling me that I had overdosed. So anyway, we stayed there for the day in the hospital till they felt comfortable enough that I could go home. And like no one showed up, man. It was my wife. My mom came through at the end when I was getting ready to go. And to be honest with you, I think it was just because she was there. So anyway, the people that I cared about or that I thought would care were not there. And nothing was said even. My dad didn't call me, the family here. No one said shit, man. That became tough later on in life to realize, because where I am right now, and if I see any indication that my children or someone I love is struggling with anything, like, I'm going to be vocal. And it's not that no one was there hurt me. Like, I've never felt fucking love from anyone anyway, so it's not like my feelings were hurt that no one was there. No shit. Guess how surprised I was that no one was there? I wasn't surprised. But what hurt was that their inability to change the things about themselves for such a situation. Like, are you fucking I don't even care if you like me or not, but you're not going to say anything? You're not going to talk about it? Nothing? Like, I'd rather you hate me, because then at least I know where I stand. But for absolutely nothing, like nothing happened. It really solidified my belief that I didn't exist. Man, that's my number one thing, is like, I didn't think I was a fucking person. And it's situations like this that like helped me believe that.
Did you stop doing drugs?
No, I stopped for, I think I got 7 weeks. 7 weeks because I ran into another drug dealer, and he was like, "What the hell, dude?" He's like, "What am I, chopped liver?" Because I hadn't seen him for 7 weeks. He thought I was going to someone else. And I was like, "No, dude, I overdosed." And then, but that one meeting, I think, like, I was like, oh, he, chances are he's going to give me something now. So I was like, oh, that piqued my interest. I just talked to him. I haven't talked to him in a while. He was like, oh, shit, So now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll show up at his house and get some free cocaine because he's glad I'm alive. That's where my mind went. But no, I didn't. I just kept going. Yep.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, how many years ago was that when the overdose happened?
I would say it's got to be 7 years ago now. Probably pretty handy. 8, 9, 10. Oh, no, maybe even 8 or 9, yeah.
Were there any other times that you overdosed?
I'll tell you this, man. When I was in Vancouver, I used to smoke so much crack that I would cook myself alive on the inside. So cocaine makes your blood boil, essentially. And smoking crack, it creates such a hot body temperature that you're essentially like cooking yourself. I would sit in my bathroom and smoke so much crack cocaine that I would give myself sunburn along my forehead and my nose. It would peel from my skin being so hot. I swear to God, it was a couple days later I could peel it off, like sunburned skin in my bathroom is how much. So no, that was the one time that like everything actually stopped. And as far as anything else, I just got lucky. I think, cooking yourself alive inside, like chances are I could have overdosed at any time then, but
Well, I'm just curious, did you see any bright lights that one time?
I didn't, man. I didn't see anything, and I think that kind of allowed me to continue my behavior. To be honest with you, because it was just like, oh, that's it. I would have had no idea. Is the way I thought, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, oh, that was easy.
Yeah. When was the time that you had completely decided that you didn't want to exist anymore? I mean, at what point in life was that?
Well, as far as like not wanting to, I mean, I'd come to the realization that something was wrong when I had everything I needed, and I still didn't want to be. I had a house, I had a wife, children. I didn't have to work. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I had my own truck. I've never paid a bill. I had money at my disposal. Not my money, but I had money at my disposal. I could sleep with any female that I wanted to. I could do whatever I wanted. And I was miserable, man. And then that's when I was like, okay, you literally have, like, I don't deserve any of this stuff, first of all, and I have it all, and I'm still miserable. So I was like, okay, well, nothing else is going to make me happy, because I have everything that could make me happy, and it's not. So that was like the beginning of it. I think when I realized what I had and that it didn't mean anything, was the beginning of the end. Because up until that point, like, again, I did what I wanted. I never, there's no repercussions, or I didn't care. I didn't care about my life, so I didn't care about yours.
So you told me
So yeah, that was the beginning of the end.
you've been with your wife now for 15 years, isn't that what you said?
Yep. Yep.
And are you still living with the in-laws?
Yes. Yep.
So tell me about that relationship over the years. I imagine the in-laws didn't think a whole lot of you after overdosing in the bed and after coming home in that situation. Tell me about. I'm just curious. I think this woman may be a saint.
Let me close the door first. um, no, you know what? They're great. They're great people. They really are. And they've helped us out a lot. I don't think it would be the same if deservingly, I don't think I'm looked at the way I am. I get it, but I think a part of that is their own level of which they've changed themselves. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that during that entire time, I was a piece of shit. I never abused Sarah. I never, as far as anyone else could see, we were a pretty good relationship. And really, my drug issues was our only issue. We loved each other. It wasn't like a toxic relationship. It was just that I was a drug addict. So I think that's what they chose to believe, is how it was all the time. But again, I hid it well, man. Like, people didn't know, and I think they're now just discovering all of this shit, right? So I feel like there might have been some resentment at first because of my behavior, but now I feel like there's resentment because, well, we didn't know that. We didn't know that. We didn't know that. To me, it's like it's all irrelevant. You don't need, like, one thing is not more specific than the other. One thing is not more significant than the other. That's who I was. This is the shit that we did, that we dealt with, and we're still together, right? If you have problems with whatever, then let's talk about them, because that's who I am now. Like, let's discuss it. I've made that change. They haven't. And they haven't because they don't need to. Their life was fine, as far as they're concerned, before my awakening. You know, so, which is very challenging, man, because not only am I not the same person, but I'm a new person. And, like, I have expectations of myself, and I have expectations of, like, what I allow in my life. With no exceptions, zero exceptions. That's just the way it is. Like, I know where I was. I know what I was going to do. I know the pain that I was causing, you know? So there's nothing. No one is the exception to the rule. So I feel that perhaps I might come off a little bit on a high horse now. But it's mine. It's my high horse for me. It's not, I'm not looking down on you. I'm not looking down on anyone. Like, if I'm on a high horse, it's for my demons. It's for me, all the shit that I've overcome. And yes, and a part of that is I was the exact opposite of that, man. I was like 6 feet in the ground. I just got done saying I didn't think I existed. You know, so if I'm standing on a soapbox for my demons in my life, then that's what I'm going to do. I don't have to explain it. If you want to take it as something different, well, then unfortunately that's on you again, right? Like, I'm sorry that I was a piece of shit and you never got to tell me I was a piece of shit. And now I'm completely changing the game and you didn't get your piece to tell me. So now it's like, now there's like a resentment and like a, what's the word, when you're angry but nice about it.
Well, that's a passive aggressive.
Yes, thank you. So there's a lot of that going on, right? And like, again, like, listen, let's just sit down and trust me, I'm probably on the same page as you. I'm completely aware of all the shit I did, and I'm extremely sorry for it. But I'm not living there anymore, and I'm not going to live there for you. You know, so like, if you want to hold on to that shit and like make a shitty relationship, then again, like, I'm so sorry, but that's your bag, you know. And I feel that that's kind of where it is. But I'm definitely open for like communication, man. Trust me, you can't say anything to me that I haven't already said to myself about myself. You know what I mean? And also, I can take it. I think there's also a fear of like not wanting to say something you can't take back. I'm not like that. I don't care. I deserve it. You know, I was a piece of shit. I'm not anymore, and I'm okay that I've accepted and I've moved on. So anything you have to say about my character, who I used to be, I can handle, because I'm truly not that person anymore. I can let go of it. So, but at the same time, man, I feel super bad, and I feel responsible for that, because if I weren't that way, then maybe our relationship wouldn't be how it is. But again, I'm not waiting in limbo for anyone, you know. Like, either let's discuss it and work through it, or not work through it, or let's discuss it, you know. But let's get off of this shit, because this isn't helping anyone.
You know, a lot of, I don't know if it applies to the situation or not, but sometimes it's good, what we let into our lives is good, and sometimes it's good what we cut out of our lives. You know what I'm talking about? And it's
Absolutely.
those decisions that we make is when we when our priorities change, and sometimes the best thing to do is cut things out, and lower the stressors. So, but I know that I think your wife's a saint if she put up with you for all these years and y'all are still married and together. I've got to nominate her for sainthood. I think in the Catholic Church they got to have what two or three proven miracles after death. So maybe we can try to come up with two or three
Yeah.
miracles.
You know what? And she not only is that the case, but like she's on board with me as far as like where we're headed. You know, she is not just sitting by idly while I change my life. She is also like working just as hard to fix her own life. You know, together. Like she's no, you hit the nail on the head there, man. You're right. Yeah, and you know what, man? I hid my drug abuse from her for the first like 3 years of our relationship, and when I finally got caught, um, she came and sat beside me and set the crack pipe on the coffee table, not even knowing what a crack pipe was. She looked at me and she said, "Is there help? Do you need help quitting something?" And I immediately broke down because I'm like, "What? You know, I've been lying to you and smoking crack for 3 years. And when you finally discover it, your response is, 'Can I help you?'" You know, like, crazy. And she was like that the entire way, man.
Yeah, you're not used to. I can't draw out the word I was thinking of, but you know, unselfish in
Conditional.
love, or love, loving something where you're not expecting anything back. It's just a
Right.
fuck. I can't remember. I can't think of the name right now, but just have something. It doesn't sound like you've ever had someone in your life that just loved you no matter what happened.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that I mean that's the case, and it kept going too. Like I never kept anything from her. Whenever I would fuck up, I would confess immediately. You know, it was so she's literally there's a couple things she's not aware of, but they don't serve any purpose. But for the most part, um, yeah, man, like she's not like hiding from the truth. You know, like man, like yeah, she's a strong woman, that's for sure.
what
And
do they
she's
call
still
ride or
fighting, man.
die?
Like we're still ride or die, dude. We're still going to marriage counselors as well, you know, and positively. It's not like, oh, we got to go to a marriage counselor. It's like
Mm.
we're happy to go to the marriage counselor, you know. Like there's no defeat as far as our relationship is concerned. You
I
know,
can tell you
life
something.
still sucks.
There's a few jobs on this earth that I really don't want to do. One of them is like septic out cleaner, and maybe human parts disposal from the hospital. But I think right up there with those would be marriage counseling. I think that has got to be one of the least jobs that I would ever want to do. Sit and have to listen to everybody bitch about each other all day. And then, surely there's other ways I can figure out how to make money without having to do that.
Yeah.
You
No,
got to
I'm,
really
I'm
have a
sure it's a
passion.
big headache.
You got to really have a
Yeah.
passion for
Yeah, I'd say.
that.
Yeah. But it's good, man. It's I'll tell you, like we started. Actually, our marriage counselor is the lady who referred me to the rehab center, which kicked this whole thing off.
Really?
So she was just a marriage counselor, and obviously our first our first meeting with her, like, what's okay, guys? What seems to be the problem? Right? I'll take that one. So my drug use came up pretty.
Hey, did she say, now, y'all can't say anything that's going to shock me? Did she say that right at the first?
No, I don't think she's been around. I think she's been doing it for like 25 years, so I'm sure that's the case. But yeah, we went to her, and immediately it was like, all right, well, I'm in pretty good standings with the rehab center, and you want me to, like, yep. So that was it. And I ended up going to rehab and all this and the DDP yoga, and then like 6 or 7 months into sobriety, we book our second meeting with the marriage counselor. She's like, "So how are things going?" I'm like, "Well, I've lost 70 pounds. I started working at harm reduction center. I'm in this contest. It's like."
Damn,
what happened?
Hey, tell her one visit with her and shit. Look what changes.
And that was it. Yeah.
Hey, what initials
and
are
now,
on there?
Vance, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Maddie.
And
Piper.
Oh, that's the kids.
Maddie and Piper. Piper is my oldest daughter. Yeah, 2 of them.
And
then I can't see that. I got a big rose for Poppy Rose on my head.
Is that the third one?
That's the third one. Yeah, that's the baby. Yeah.
All right, man. All right. So I was wondering if it was like,
the pipe.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect.
No.
I was envisioning other things.
Yeah. No, I never went there.
All right, man.
Yeah.
There's one thing I want to ask you about. It's that I don't know. It just interests me, and the movie. The two things. One's about Russell Brand, and one's about the movie The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And I want to throw them both out there before I forget them. But that movie made me also give DDP yoga and nutrition a try, because for different reasons. And after watching it, I came away with the feeling that DDP really cares for people, for everything he put up with Jake the Snake. Because I can tell you, sitting there watching that movie, I was thinking to myself, there ain't no fucking way I'd put up with half the shit that son of a bitch does, and I keep letting him in my house and trying to help him. And if DDP has that much patience and has that big a heart, it's worth me to try his program. And so that was my idea between getting into his program. And that's a different take from that movie than what you got, because you related to Jake's the Snake story more, and that's what got you kind of hooked, kind of the rope that pulled you into the program.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat with you, though, and as far as like, I wouldn't have the patience, and to this day, even being on the other side, I still don't think I would have that. Like, that's something that I need to work on, and again, that's why I give my wife a lot of credit, man, is that she was Dallas to my Jake. That was kind of creepy too, man, when they were in the truck and Jake was denying that he had some drinks, and they got into a pretty heated argument there. That like really hit me, that specific scene, because like I was like, fuck, that's me. Whenever I'd get caught, how many beer do you have? I'm not even drunk. Like, don't
Right.
worry about it, and just get so angry and defensive, right? And know that you're the asshole. And seeing someone else do what I did, I was like putting my head down, you know? I was like, oh my God. It was like watching myself in disgust, but it wasn't me. Weird.
Yeah. And now, I on the Russell Brand side, I find it interesting that he uh, that you relate to him so much because I never did really like his comedy that much. I don't know. It's fast talking. I know he's an extremely smart guy, really philosophical, but um, but I never did like his comedy as much. But I think you're the second, or third, or fourth person that has mentioned him to me at some point to reference someone that helped change their life around by him putting
Huh.
his life out there publicly and the struggles that he went through. And so, if he's helping that many people, I need to give him a better look than what I've given him. I think so.
Mm. Well, I have two books beside my bed, and it's Russell Brand's Recovery and Positively Unstoppable. Those are my two bedside books. And I go to them when I need them. But I would recommend, even, uh, you know, just to read, I would recommend getting Recovery book as well, just for insight, because it's just what he did is he took the 12 steps from AA and just like simplified them, put it into, because I find like the 12 steps in the big book is very much like the Bible, where it's interpretive. What he did is he did his own, this is what he took from it, and he just redid it. And they just so happen to be, you know, in line with the way I approach my sobriety as well. But it does give a little bit of insight into who he is. And again, man, I think like for any of us that have struggled with like that kind of issues, like whether it's weight or drugs, um, we all share that same like despair, and like we share that same desire for more. And I think that's kind of what like really sets off depression or the struggle, is like we want more and we can't get it. I don't think a lot of us are happy with either being overweight or being an alcoholic. I don't know any drug addicts that are like, hey, it's super, and I don't know any large people who are like, yeah, it's starting to become popular now, a little more popular, but I mean, I call bullshit. But the point is that like we want something different, and I think when food and addiction, I mean, they go hand in hand. Yeah, they're different things, but it's the same game. We're all playing the same game as far as food and drugs and alcohol. It's all something, and we share that desire to not be what we have, and I think that even just that desire to not have either drug addiction or food addiction, shows a certain level of intelligence that not everyone has. And I think if we like accept that, then maybe we can start making the right choices to either get healthier, well, just to get healthier. Yeah.
I mean, uh, I used to be a drunk. I drank every day. I mean, I'd go to the liquor store and once a week, every Friday, I'd buy three handles, a few bottles of wine, and some beer, and I'd drink those three handles during that week and those wine, and go back the next week and buy three more handles. I'd get a scotch, a bourbon, and a vodka, and I'd just switch drinks during the night. Handles are 1.75, and I. But what you said is, I did it to feel good. I did it to relieve the stresses in my life. I wanted to get off work, go home, and sit in my chair and play video games again until I passed out. Get up and go get in the bed, wake up, go work, and go come back and do it again the next night every day. That's all I did, and I did that through 2012. But I ended up being in the hospital for health reasons and almost dying. But I hadn't had a drink since I walked out of that hospital that day. I hadn't smoked a cigar, I had a drink since 2012. But you know, um, I kept eating, and I ate for the same reason. If I get stressed, I eat. If I'm happy, I eat. If I get used to, if I get stressed, I drink. If I'm happy, I drink. Every story since I was about 16 started. We were really fucked up, and then we did this. And every happy
Right.
story I have starts with that one sentence. And all
Yeah.
because the family, we'd go hunting, fishing, any event, we'd go out eating. They all started with that same sentence. And once you go sober, then the people in your life that you hung around with back then, they don't hang around anymore, and it's just um, everything in your life changes. Your priorities and everything changes, and I didn't stop eating. I quit drinking, but I didn't stop eating. I didn't stop eating until 2017 when I started that year when I lost 198 pounds, so 197 or whatever it was. But yeah, man, it's like you said, nobody does it because they're happy with themselves. They do it to feel like something else, and you do it to
Yeah.
be a different person. So
And I think though that that's something that we carry on when we get out of that as well, right? Like I mean, here we are right now on your podcast.
mhm.
Like because we shared that same struggle, and now we share that same, you know, whatever this is,
Yeah,
wherever we are, we're on a different plane than we used to be, but we share that same plane, right?
yeah, yeah. It's weird, man. I just can't believe that. My fat drunk ass and anybody would ever see me as inspirational to lose weight or get in shape. I've been fat and drunk my whole life. Um,
Well, I think for me, um, and I hope that other people can see what I see, but I've never been, I don't think I've ever been morbidly obese. I mean, I've been quite a bit overweight, like I
I've
said,
been
about
super.
70 pounds.
Hey, I've been super morbidly
Yeah.
obese. That's the only thing super I've ever been is morbidly obese.
well, well, the thing is that I don't think people understand because for me, for instance, being a little overweight my whole life has driven me crazy. Right? My heroes were wrestlers from the 80s. Like those are the guys that I wanted to look like. My dad was 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, big muscle farmer. My grandfather was a farmer. Like my heroes were wrestlers and action stars. So I, because I grew up, in poverty and the way I did, nutrition was not important. So I've always been overweight, but um, not enough that like it caused its own um, depression for me. Weight was never a negative effect to that point. Mind you, I never had sex with my shirt off, ever until I met my wife. Um, as an adult, I've never taken my shirt off at the beach. Like so, it did affect me, just not the way other things did. But with that being said, is that I know how difficult, and even right now, I'm still not even anywhere close to being happy with what I want to look like physically. And I know how difficult that is and the decisions you have to make constantly to eat healthier and to be healthier. Now, times that by like 300 pounds in some cases. Like, the reality of the situation is that what you've done is something that, to me, seems nearly impossible. And I know what it takes to lose the little amount of weight that I needed to lose. And that's like up here as far as stress and ability. So to see someone like yourself not only lose the amount of weight you've lost, but to like, you're doing something with your life, you know, that's why people are motivated. That's why people are inspired, you know, because like, that's no joke, man. If anyone's ever tried to lose any amount of weight, like, good luck. I don't care what you say. Good luck. I'm very active to this day. I go out for over an hour and a half, like power walks. I go to the gym for jiu-jitsu 7 times a week for over an hour. Like, that's crazy. I don't eat shit anymore, and I still have boobies. You know, like, it's super difficult, and I don't have that same kind of relationship that you would have, perhaps, right? So for me, the fact that you're where you are, and I mean, just throw the number of pounds that you've lost is just an added, but like, the switch is what's inspirational to me. You know, it's the same thing. Like, I used to be a crackhead, and now I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, that's motivational. Not that I got off the drugs. Well, cool that you got off the drugs. You had to, right? Like, you had to lose weight to get to where you are. But the point is that you are where you are. That's what is impressive to me. You know.
Now you're giving back and helping others. You know, your story will help others, like Russell Brand putting out there his story, help others. You know, it's amazing. You're paying it forward. You know. So
I think so, and that's what I'm doing, man. I have one guy that reached out to me about 6 months ago. I've got a lot of people that have reached out to me, and it's hard for me to get back to them because I can't just do the thanks, or I can't just do good job. You know, I have to like put myself into my responses. So I don't often. But one guy reached out to me, and he was an alcoholic, and, you know, what do I do? And I told him, I was like, here's what I did. I got help for what I knew I needed help with. I started getting healthy with the DDP yoga, and I started showing up at the gym at 5:30 a.m. You know, I'm like, I don't expect you to order the DVDs. You know, I don't expect you to put yourself in rehab. You know, those are things that helped me and that like I needed to do. But I'll tell you what you can do. I'm going to be at the gym tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Come on in. Bam. Guy hasn't looked back. He hasn't had a touch of booze in 6 months. He's lost 30 pounds. And I see him on Facebook, and he's motivating people all the time. He brought in 3 new people to the gym. One of the 3 new people that he brought into the gym just celebrated 2 months sober last night.
all right.
You know, so like that's it. I'm just, yes, man, here. Show them what they're capable of. You know, don't do it for them, but show them, because listen, there's no difference between me and you, man. You know, here's what I'm doing. Why can't you do it? Right? And if you can't, then find a way to do it.
The damn sure ain't nothing special about me, you know. Shit, if an old drunk fat guy can do it, you can damn sure do it, you know.
That's it, right? I honestly, and I think that's humbling. That's not. It's not in a negative way. We're not saying that in a negative way. We're saying it in a positive. It's achievable.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
You know, that relatability. You know. Hey man, let's get to that belt behind you. Tell us about that belt.
This one, this beauty.
Yeah,
this
tell us what that is and how you got that.
So this is my my Positively Unstoppable Championship belt. I was one of the champs this year. I got to fly down, get the whole treatment where we met. We went golfing, which was one of the highlights, by the way. That was pretty cool. You are a celebrity to me, Vance. You're legit. So we got to do that. I got to meet people. You know, it was great. They're a great bunch of people. Everything was. I had gone down for the Jack transformation. I think like a week before I went down for the Positively Unstoppable Challenge by myself. So I got to kind of get the VIP treatment. Dallas invited me over to his house for supper, and to have that one-on-one time was cool because I'm glad it worked out that way because I got to see the reality of what I created before the glitz and glam.
Yeah.
So I was able to soak in where I put myself. Like when I was at Dallas's house, there's me, Brittany, Oakley, and Paige.
Yeah.
That's it. Just sitting at the table, having supper, just shooting the shit. We're talking about my wife. And I'm like, you did this, man. Like, you put yourself here. This was before I knew anything about the Positively Unstoppable Challenge. It was just a good realization, and I got to, just soak it in for myself. And then when we went back for the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, I wanted my wife to experience what I had experienced the first time. Where it's like, you put yourself here, Sarah.
Yeah.
Like, you did this. Because I'll tell you what, if you didn't do what you did for me, our entire relationship, I wouldn't be here. So, look at where you are. Mm-hmm. You're in Georgia right now, at Diamond Dallas Page's house. All expenses paid trip for your husband to get recognized for changing his life. That you did. Like, you did this. She's the one that did. If it wasn't for her support, none of it, So for me, I kind of just sat back and relaxed on the Positively Unstoppable trip. It was like, I wanted her to really soak in what she was responsible for. And not so much like the fun stuff, It was a super fun trip. But more meaningful was that we had put ourselves there, So, yeah. Anyway, I lost 70 pounds in total, and I celebrated my 700th day of sobriety at Diamond Dallas Page's Christmas party, which still blows my mind to this day. And the funny thing is, man, like, the place was packed, and I was in the back room curling his dumbbells. What's going on? I'm at like a millionaire's mansion in Georgia at a party with an open bar, and I'm in the back corner curling dumbbells.
Working out.
Crazy. Absolutely working out. Like, just absolutely crazy. So yeah, I mean, it was great. I kind of just relaxed, but.
And we even left before it got crazy.
That's right. Exactly. I was talking to you about that.
Yeah, we were one of the first ones to leave out of our bunch before everything got crazy. Yeah.
Again, that's another thing that I hold dear to my heart, man. I really do. The fact that I tell that story when people ask me. I tell them that I left early because again, the situation that we're at, I'm like, it's time to go. It's time to go. Right then, that was the security for me that I knew I would never drink again or party again. Really, you left Dallas's Christmas party, and I did. I left because the booze was starting to flow, right, and it wasn't my scene anymore.
Hey,
which is crazy, Vance, because if you would have known me before.
I maybe not to the extent of, I know not to the extent of you, but as far as alcohol goes, I was probably, I I would probably drink with you at those parties as far as alcohol goes. I don't.
Yeah.
There was very few people that could drink me under a table. Now, one of them, his name's
Yeah.
Charlie Dix, and I learned that lesson in college. Um, I was when I got to college, I thought I could drink tequila, and so I carried a bottle of tequila everywhere with me. And drank tequila, and everybody I met said, "If you like to drink tequila, you need to meet Charlie Dix." And I said, "Well, where is this fucking Charlie Dix?" And so I finally met Charlie Dix, and we went to a 50-cent tequila night at this bar. And Charlie Dix ended up driving me to Jack in the Box, and I was out in the drive-through line trying to pick a fight with somebody in some car or just in the line, and he got me back home to my dorm, tucked me into bed, and he went out and kept partying. And Charlie Dix taught me that I can't drink tequila anymore with Charlie Dix. So there's a few people out there
No way.
I can't drink with. I learned that lesson more than once.
Yeah.
So if you want to drink
I
tequila,
always
you
said
need
if
to
you ever
find.
see me drinking,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I always said if you see me drinking tequila, it's too late. Don't listen to anything I said because if I'm drinking tequila, I am shattered. Yeah.
yeah, tequila.
No, we're a different breed up here. I think we're it's like you were saying with your family with drinking for anything. That was my family. Farmers. It was you wake up, you have breakfast, and then you have a beer.
Yeah.
And you take your beer hunting, you take your beer working, you take your beer fishing, you take your beer. It's just beer, 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 beer. And very, very seldom would I see anyone drunk. Because it was just a routine. It was regular. Now, if someone was drunk, it was because they were drinking some whiskey, and getting drunk.
Yeah.
But to see someone just drinking beer every day throughout the day and not see an actual change in their behavior, it adds to the normalcy of drinking regularly, right? So here, yeah, it was the same thing, and as you know, the more you go, the more you build up, but that never seemed to be the case with tequila.
Yeah. Tequila's a different animal.
That's a different animal, yeah.
Speaking of farmers drinking beer, I used to deer hunt with a guy named Kenneth Mahan. He's an old Czech farmer. I don't know if y'all have any Czech population up there, but down here in Texas, there's several communities, pretty large Czech communities. One of the town next to us, about 13 miles in us, is a lot of Czech. But if you go down to west, down in that area, there's a lot of Czechs down in there. But and they drinking beer to them is like drinking water. But anyway, this old farmer was on the deer list with him, and he had to go into the doctor for some type of intestinal issues. And they asked him how much he drank, and he said a case a day. And they just went ballistic. They couldn't believe it. And he said, well, he told us that he was really ashamed to tell them how much he really drank a day. So, yeah,
right. You're right, man. Yeah. Well, people here, it's the same thing. Not that I care, but I would start with 15 beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was what I'd start with. Whatever level of inebriated I'd get would be what I'd get. But after those 15 beer, I would jump in my truck and go to wherever else I was going to get more alcohol. But you talk to someone regular with 15 beer, who drinks that in a night? I'm like, in a night? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I drank that before I went out for the night, But, yeah, absolutely crazy. It's the mentality of small town as well here.
There was a guy that I related to at the state bar. He's part of the state bar has this deal. It's called, I can't even think of the name right now, but it's basically helping people who abuse, have alcohol or drug issues. And this guy's name's Chris Ritter, but he always at the bar events, he goes around and talks on behalf of this support group, support services out of the bar. And he would tell the story that he couldn't relate to anybody that ever really talked about having drinking problems, because they'd always start, talk about maybe 2 or 3 drinks a night, and that'd be a problem. And that for him, that was breakfast. 2 or 3 drinks. He
Yeah.
could never relate to their stories before he got sober, and that's kind of that when he tells his story, that kind of I related to him, and so. But yeah, no,
Right.
we used to have a lot of fun drinking, man. But I've been sober shit. July will be 10 years in July. It's crazy.
10 years already. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good for
it's
you.
crazy. It's
And
crazy.
and obviously you've noticed. I mean, it's all been the same. It's all been in the same wheelhouse, I suppose, right? I mean, it's all that change within that creates change on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And one
did your
thing.
weight loss journey? Sorry, go ahead.
Now go ahead. What we saying? Your weight loss
Uh,
journey?
Did your weight loss journey start after sobriety?
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. See, I quit drinking when
5 years.
when I walked out of that hospital, but I never quit eating. And I was supposed to. I needed knee surgery and knee replacement, both knees, and they told me I had to get down to under 300 to get knee replacements, and shit, I was 475, and I didn't know how I could do it with the knees bad, how to exercise, and I'd given up, and when I left the hospital, they diagnosed me with congestive heart failure in 2012, and so um, when I walked out of there, I figured I was going to die at any moment, so I figured I was working on borrowed time, and so I just uh, I was been in law practice, and I was drinking every day, smoking cigars and partying, and in a house. I lost my house. I got foreclosed on it in April. I went into the hospital in July with the fluid in the lungs. They didn't think I was going to make it out of there. The first diagnosis was pulmonary embolism. They thought, and people were coming to see me. I ain't seen in years. I was in ICU, and I thought I was going to die. And so when I walked out of that hospital, I just shut down my law practice. I took the lowest job with the county DA there was, prosecuting tickets, making 46,000 a year. I was trying to get my wife some kind of pension before I died. Get my kids to 18. I had teenage kids, and that was my only 2 goals, because I knew I wasn't going to be here to ever. I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next day. After I walked out of that hospital, but I knew that I needed to get my wife some kind of pension, and I knew I needed to get my kids to 18 to where they could fend for themselves when I was gone. And that's all I cared about. And then, so I just worked every day, and I was working, I was sharpening and making knives on the side because I couldn't practice law because I was a DA, and I worked for the DA. So I was working 7 days a week, working weekends at gun shows, sharpening knives at kitchens and after work, and working flea markets and shit, and just trying to pay bills, keep food on the table, and finally worked up through the DA's office high enough so I could cut back on the knife sharpening. But I just uh, finally, after 5 years, the kids had got all grown and got where they could kind of semi take care of themselves, and I just said, shit, there's got to be something out there I can do. And so I went to the orthopedic doctor, and he said I need new knees, but he wouldn't do it till I was under 300. And then I went to a cardiologist. I hadn't been to one. I didn't like the guy at the hospital, so I didn't go to one like I was supposed to when I walked out of the hospital. And a cardiologist run over 2 days all these tests, and he come back and said my heart looks normal. And so for 5 years, I thought I was about to die. And so I joked with everybody I was going to sue the hospital for 5 years of good drinking, drinking and smoking cigar time that I had to lose. But so I knew my heart wasn't going to quit, and I thought there had to be something out there I could do. And that's when I started walking and started doing aqua aerobics, and then Bert Chrysler put me on his page, and that's how Dallas saw me, and Dallas reached out to me. And that's how I found Dallas, man. It's just kind of one thing after another. Good things started happening to me when I started putting it out there publicly. So it's crazy, man.
It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. As soon as I put out that video that I wrote, I don't know if you saw that or not. Rock bottom.
I don't think
so it's about 10 minutes, and it's just it's a summary of my story. I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I had just posted it on my regular page, and then Pat McDermott reached out to me, and he asked if I posted it to the DDP Yoga page, and I told him I didn't. And he said, I think you should. He said, I think it can really help some people. So I did. And then that's kind of when things started happening as well. Dallas ended up calling me, and some of Dallas's friends called me and said that they had seen this video and how inspirational it was, and if I needed help doing anything, if I wanted to go from there, they thought it was well done. But once I started, and to be honest with you, man, I started going public with my story just for accountability. I swear, it was just like, if I put it out there, then it's going to be kind of hard to go back to the way things were. So that's literally why I just started going public with all my stuff, to hold myself accountable. And then people started resonating with people, I think, and then they started reaching out. But it was as soon as I started sharing, and the thing is I see the same thing in you, is like there's an authenticity with us that I think can really reach an audience, because we always try to find any excuse to not believe in something. Like, I brought my dad over. My dad is, he's over 300 pounds now. He has bad feet and bad back and all these issues. So I brought him over to do the DDP yoga. And Dallas put up his right hand and said, all right, now put up your left hand. So my dad was like, what? He just said put up your left hand when he's got his right hand up. And then he found something wrong with him, right? So I'm not going to do this now because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I think we always try to find those things, right? But I think if you give less of those reasons for people, then maybe the wider audience you can reach, because like, you might not like what I'm saying, but you can't tell me I'm full of shit,
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever I put out there, you're either gonna take it or not, but you're not gonna be like, oh, why would I listen to this guy? He's full of shit. I don't believe that, or whatever it is. And it comes across with you as well. I find in your weigh-in videos, like it's just authentic, right? And I think we need that when we're looking for real change. We need to see real examples with real people, and Dallas is that, and you are that, and I like to think I am that as well.
Absolutely. And when I started putting them out there publicly, that was for the exact same reason, is for accountability. I tried to lose weight, fucking, I would assume thousands of times, and
Forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was either always on trying to lose weight or about to try to lose weight. It seems like my whole life, and I just knew that if I wanted to do something different, I had to try something different. And so the two principles I started with was to commit to yes. I was going to try anything anybody asked me to try just to see if I could do it. And the other
Were
thing was,
you? Did you get that from the movie?
yeah, no, I just did it. I mean, I just knew I had to do something different, and I had to find something out there I
Right.
could do. And I knew it had to be something I could
Right.
do, or I wouldn't stick with it. And so commit to yes, and then post everything online, because I knew if I didn't, I started and stopped. I don't know telling how many diets and exercise programs privately and not told anybody. And so once you start putting it out there, it kind of snowballs. I mean, it's just all these wonderful things just start happening. People, accountability. It's like an accountability magnifier almost. People you don't even know start commenting on you, like at the store or something. Saying, "I saw your video. You're doing good," or something. You don't even know these damn people. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't. One of the questions I always ask people toward the end of this is, how has social media affected your journey? And I'll go ahead and ask it now since we're kind of talking about it.
Uh, well, it's really a double-edged sword for me. Um, it helped, and then it didn't help, and now it's at the stage now where I'm going to give it up for a bit again. Um, so I did need it for accountability, and um, it also opened up this doorway. And I think, like I said, I worked at a harm reduction center, and I also worked as a mentor to young adults living on the spectrum. Um, I didn't apply for those jobs. In fact, they were like offered to me because of people seeing my journey and seeing what I'm doing. I've had opportunities presented to me that were super, and I've also the feeling of like genuinely having a positive impact on someone's life is very fulfilling. So it's helped out in that sense. Um, but near the end of the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, um, I found that I was more focused on this specific um, medium as far as my entire journey. Like I was focused on like the media aspect of it, getting my story out there and seeing how far I could take this. Meanwhile, I'm not on the mat. Meanwhile, I'm not head down focused on myself. I'm not doing all the things that I did to get me to this point. Now all of a sudden those things like took a back seat because I'm focusing on like trying to build up what I have now as far as like this media opportunity. Um, so I always stayed active enough because you have to, and also it's just who I am now. Um, but since I put so much energy into sharing my story, it's taken away from me creating my story. It's like all of this happened like halfway through, so um, I'm glad that it's kind of like tapering off now because I feel like, okay, time to get back to basics. And what were basics? Basics were like, I need to change. And, I think once we get comfortable, we slack off a bit on the gas, right? Like we get comfortable in something, then all of a sudden we're not trying as hard. That's how I've been just in my life in general, not just work, but just emotionally, when things are good, I'm not looking to be better. I'm just like, things are good, So I feel like that's what I've reached with my public involvement. but like things aren't. All of a sudden now I'm like, I'm starting to feel like I need something. I need to, and what that is I just need to get back to myself, because I've been happy. I've been happy with, this world that I've created, but at the same time, I'm not like grinding like I did, and I'm not grinding like I know I can, because I'm putting so much energy into trying to get my story out there and influence others. Like sometimes I need to remind myself that like I'm not done, Don't worry about helping others just right now, because that's kind of what's taken over. Like my desire to help people through my story has become my focus, as opposed to just myself being the focus. So yeah, now I'm at a place where I feel that I've done enough as far as inspire or motivate. I feel like, all right, guys, I've showed you my blueprint. All right, now here you go. Now I'm gonna back off for a bit and continue to work on my blueprint. Because that's where I am now. I'm putting too much focus on helping others instead of myself, and that's cool. But I feel like, hey, I already did. You already have helped people. You already are. So it's okay to step back and get back to what brought you to this place, right? And that was focusing only on what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a break from, promoting myself and I think just get back to basics and put my head down.
I think that's good for your own mental health from time to time to do that.
Yeah.
Quit, you can only give the best of yourself to others if you take care of yourself enough to be your best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you gotta do what you gotta do to take care of you. And so whatever that is, get back to it. We want the best Jeremy, the best version of, everyone deserves the best version of Jeremy there is, and especially those people whose names are tattooed on your body. They deserve the best Jeremy that there is.
I agree.
And the saint of the wife. What's the saint's name?
Her name is Sarah.
Sarah. She's tattooed on you too. Okay.
She's there too. Yeah. And this big one on my neck, it's a heart. It says family.
All right.
So
and I know
they're huge to me, man.
I know you've got Unstoppable on there somewhere.
This big one here on the chest.
Yeah. There's a picture of us in Atlanta with our shirts pulled up.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
I have that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. With this one.
Are you gonna get the that design that's on the belt? That's the Team Relentless design.
No, Brian already did that. Tan already did he's got the Relentless 6.
Yeah, the Team Relentless. Yeah. That's the 6 champions from 2021. Is that right? 2021? Let's see. Yeah, that's right. 2021 champions.
2021.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm good with tattoos for a bit now.
Well,
I'll hold off for a while.
What's the future hold for Jeremy Landry?
Well, I'm really into jiu-jitsu right now. I just had my first tournament. I won my first match and lost my second 2. But I think I'm just going to continue working MMA. I have an opportunity to do a cage fight in the near future, in the next couple months. I'm not sure if I don't know. It's a different ball game. I might. I think that's what I'm going to do though, is work on getting into the cage to get one MMA fight. Other than that, man, like I mean, I don't know. I've never really known what is next for Jeremy. Um, but at least now I know whatever it is, I'll be able to either A, handle it, or B, enjoy it. So, whatever's coming is I'm okay with one way or another. Because if it's bad, I know I can handle it, and if it's good, I can't wait.
Hey, I saw that you got your purple belt recently in the jiu-jitsu.
No, that wasn't me.
That
Sorry.
wasn't you?
No, that's my buddy who got me into it. He got his purple belt, and I like to
Ah,
rib him quite often. So no, I'm working on my blue belt actually, which is just
okay,
one
blue
before
belt.
purple belt.
All right,
Yeah.
so you don't have your blue belt yet, but you almost got your blue belt.
Soon, very very soon, hopefully.
Now, who are you training with? What lineage?
So we are under Carlson Gracie. So Marcelo Alonso uh, got his black belt under Carlson Gracie, and Marcelo Alonso gave my black belt professor his black belt. So we're three deep from the original Gracie team. So we got a pretty good lineage,
Well, that's
and it's a small group. We started out with like four of us, and it was I started doing jiu-jitsu right around the time I started doing DDPY. And man, it took me like I got the same thing out of driving 45 minutes in a snowstorm at 5 in the morning as I did an hour of DDP yoga in my garage. It was just like in here. So yeah, I hold it very, very dear to me. It allows me to get out any physical aggression that might be stored in a safe manner, because it's jujitsu, so I'm not smashing anyone in the face, not kicking anyone in the head. It's just grappling, wrestling around like we used to do when we were kids, and trying to make someone go to sleep.
yeah. Trying to put
But
somebody to
it's a
sleep.
very it's a very controlled outlet for aggression, I guess. So it's good. It helps. It's my antidepressant.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Well, you said you competed. Did you do gi or no gi?
I did gi. There's another one coming up April 22nd, which is a no gi tournament. Um, I'm not sure if I'm going to enter it or not. I really got my ass handed to me last time, in the sense of cardio. Like, I realized that there's a lot I need to work on a lot. My performance was good. I won my first match, and then I lost my second two by points. Um, so it wasn't that I got my ass beat, but man, it is no joke. That's for sure. I
What
might
did you
skip
win?
this next one and just continue.
What did you win with?
What did I win?
Yeah, no. What? Yeah, what? Hold. Did you win by points or did you win by submission?
Yeah, I won my first match 10-2, and then I lost my second match 10-2, and then I lost my third match to an armbar.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean it was my first tournament. I've been training a year now. It was, yeah, no excuses, man. I just got beat, plain and simple. But I think the thing that I need to work on is cardio, and like I said, I quit smoking, so
Hmm.
hopefully that'll make a difference. I'm
Well,
sure it will.
does your group, I don't know if they call them dojos or what do they call them anymore, but does your group emphasize competition or do they emphasize just more the skill and the technique of jujitsu?
Skill and technique. We're a very small group, and when we started, it was me. I was doing it to aid my recovery and my mental health. The other guy that did it is just a competitor, and he needs it as well. So all of us just started doing it to kind of better our lives. And in fact, that was our group's first competition. We've only been a group for a year.
Very
So
cool.
our competition was just shits and giggles. Someone just came across and said, hey, there's a competition. One person said, I'm going to enter. Then all of a sudden, well, let's do it. And then we all entered as a team. But no, we're now that we've experienced a tournament, we're getting itchy to do another one. But our objective is, I think, mental health. I think all of us are in it to feel better.
Well, it's a good gauge of your skills, to see how you compare to other top schools, and just see where you're at. So
Yeah,
you
and I think
that
was a thing as well, is that you win or you learn.
You win or you learn. That's it. Those are the only two options. So.
Yeah, that's right, man. And that's the way I take it as well. Like I personally, I've never had an issue with losing at anything. I just that's the thing. And in fact, losing makes me want to play again. Winning, when I win something, I don't know, it's not the same. I enjoy winning, but it's like I don't want it to be over. So I would rather lose and play again than to win and it be done.
Yeah. Well, you forget the wins, but you never forget an ass whooping.
That's right. That is right.
Well, now you said you boxed when you were younger. You said you.
Yeah.
How long did you box?
I boxed for about 7 years growing up. I started when I was just a young fellow, like 6 or 7, and I boxed up until high school. Yeah, I did a lot of traveling. We used to drive, like 13 of us, youngsters, and our boxing coaches. We would pack up our van, and we would drive to Maine. We would go to Augusta, Bangor, Calais, and we would put on boxing shows in prisons for well-behaved inmates. My boxing coach was a retired guard from here, and was also a professional boxer in his day and well respected in the boxing world. So yeah, since probably the 70s, so way before my time, he started taking busloads of kids, boxers, to put on demonstrations for inmates on good behavior. And we would travel down to the States, at least once a month, and travel around Maine. Sometimes we'd go to veterans hospitals as well and put on boxing exhibitions. But I started boxing prison inmates when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. So we would set up our chairs, and we'd have a rope around the four corners of our chairs, and we would have anywhere between a dozen to 24 inmates, and they would watch us put on our show, which was just sparring. We would just do a sparring exhibition, and then as we got to the bigger kids, we would anyone want to go in with one of these young fellas? And Bob would always tell them, listen, we're not here to embarrass anyone. We're not here to, show anyone up. We're here for you guys. That's why we're here. No one's making us come here. We're here to do this for you. So be respectful, and if you want to box, come on in. And the boxers would be like, I'm going to tune up this 12-year-old. Never the case, right? Buddy, you smoke 2 cartons of smokes a day. You were about to get your ass beat by a 12-year-old. And that's what would happen. But it was always in good fun. They would always love it. It picked the morale up. And again, by the time I was doing this, they had already established doing this for 10 years, right? So when we'd go to the prisoners, we would see some of the prisoners that were watching the show before some of us were even born. Now think of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were always happy to see us because they weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you get to see kids, right? We're all young boys, and maybe if they would have had something like we have, they wouldn't be sitting where they are, and they'd be on the other side of the bars, right? So no, it was great. Started doing that, and I boxed in the Atlantic Games in Newfoundland, and you said you'll always remember an ass whooping, Donnie Hunt.
Donnie.
All right, again, I was about 12 or 13 years old, man, and Donnie Hunt.
Yeah. You're still mad at him.
That's all I gotta say. Oh yeah, I'm still mad at him. I don't. As far as I know, he probably went on to be a professional boxer. But no, it took me some places, and it did a lot for, again, coming from my household, it was a good place to get some aggression out. But our coach was, in his 60s. So respect was a very important thing in the clubhouse. We didn't have little shits running around causing fights at school. We didn't have tough guys beating people up outside of bars. We had you had to have respect, or you just weren't there. So I learned a lot through that.
So you got some striking skills, and now you're learning some ground skills, and so you want to put it all together, right?
Yes. You got her, yeah. And like I said, the first one is coming in my hometown, June or July 12th. And my coach kind of dropped the bug in my ear. He sent me a message with showing that the Fight League Atlantic was coming to our town, and he's in good standings with the promoter. So I think they've been talking back and forth to see if we have anyone that might want to get an MMA fight in. So, I mean, I do. I absolutely do. I just don't want to gas out, is basically. I'm not scared to get hit. I'm not scared to punch. I just don't want to go, can you imagine how embarrassing that would be, just to quit to nothing? So we'll see.
This one you're doing, is it, one you're thinking about doing, is it octagon or is it a ring?
Octagon. Yeah.
Octagon.
It's in the cage, yep. There's a little different rules, like there's no ground striking, for instance. So if you're on an opponent, there's no, there's a little different rules, different sanctions, but it's striking. I don't believe there's head kicks. Again, I'm 40 years old with no experience. Right? Yeah. So these are why rules like this are in place, to save guys like me's lives.
Well, 40 years old.
But either way, it should be fun.
Starting MMA, 40-year-old rookie. So it ought to be fun. You're going to have to videotape it. I'm showing my age now. You're going to have to record it, and so we can.
Well, they pay-per-view it, Vance.
Oh, they pay-per-view it.
They pay-per-view it now.
Well, you make sure I know what
it is.
It's
a legit.
It.
I will for sure.
Well, that'll be fun to know
it'll
something.
be, well, if I get in there, I'll send you all the info.
Yeah, I'd like.
Yep. I never would have thought that I would be anywhere where I am, and to be honest with you, Vance, like, the one thing that I feel I'm missing is work and being financially not even stable, but being a provider. Like I'm very happy with who I am now. I'm very happy with how I treat people. I'm very happy with the level of husband I am, the level of father I am. Like I'm very much at peace right now, and I'm happy. And the one thing that, like, I've sacrificed throughout my journey is the ability to take care of myself, right? I never developed any kind of sense of taking care of myself. So that's the next step, I think, is to get a job where I can stay, I've never paid a bill in my life. Like some people might say, oh, lucky you. Well, no. Like, do you know how insecure that makes me feel, and to know that I can't take care of myself because I never have. So that's something that I'm working on right now, is trying to get secure work, stay in it, and pay a bill, get a bill in my name, like start. So it's continuous, that's for sure.
It's just like anything, eating an elephant. You just one bite at a time.
Start somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, just start somewhere and then just let it build. The
Yeah.
shit, y'all do like me and go to work for the county. They pay you whether you deserve it or not. You need to go work for the city or the county or whatever y'all, province or whatever the hell y'all got up there.
Just the town.
Yeah, just a,
Well, a funny thing you say that again, man, is that we were talking about putting your stuff out there publicly. I've had quite a few offers of different job positions, by just putting my stuff out there. But the problem is that I have to be specific. I have to be picky because I can't do what I've done. I can't go back into the construction field. I can't go into any of that stuff because it's all around me. And it's not that I feel like I'm going to relapse, but that's just not me anymore. Like you wouldn't go, I don't know, you wouldn't hang out with the swim team, right? What do you have in common with the swim team? You're not going to go out on, right? It's the same thing. I'm just like, I can't do the work that I know how to do because I'm in the environment that is toxic for me, which is another pain in the ass. Because now I'm like, well, what the hell can I do? But it'll figure itself out, man. I think as long as I keep putting out what I'm putting out, I think things will work out. And I'm not too concerned, man, because I'll tell you, things will never be as bad as they were.
It's only looking up.
That's right.
Well, you just keep put it out there in the universe, and the universe will bring it back to you somehow or some way.
Yeah.
The what were you doing for that harm center? You said you were working for some harm group or something.
Yeah, harm reduction center. So I was offered a job as a peer educator, which was just to kind of be there as support to the people who used the services, which was very largely based on like the homeless population in this city. It was almost like a drop-in center for street people with addictions, but they also this is kind of where I had my own problems with it. Like it was a harm reduction center, so people would go in and they would bring in dirty needles or dirty used paraphernalia, and we would destroy it, bring it to the hospital, and incinerate it. And at the same time, we would give them clean needles, all the stuff that they would need to do their drugs. It's a huge debate here, and it's the only place like it in our surrounding area, because a lot of people think you're enabling the drug use to continue. And their argument is, listen, it's going to continue regardless, which is true. But it's also true that you're enabling it, because from my own personal experience, having a place that would give me the stuff I need to do my drugs is not going to be the thing that makes me do my drugs or allows me to do my drugs. And it's not going to stop me from doing my drugs. What they're doing is they're giving clean needles and all this stuff to prevent the spread of disease, and basically to keep them alive long enough to make a change. They supply naloxone, which is the same stuff that the paramedics gave me to save my life. Because I don't know if it's like this in your neck of the woods, but fentanyl is a pretty big killer right now. So they give all this stuff out and give, stuff to help them in their drug use, more or less, and to keep them safe as far as infections and disease. Now, for me, knowing the statistics that 98% of drug addicts are going to stay drug addicts and probably die a drug addict. I don't know. I don't have the same heart that my fellow employees have, where I'm not going to beat my head off the wall, to save your life. Anyway, it didn't work there for me because all I saw was death every day. It was like people in like the deepest state of addiction. People were coming in, literally going around. Someone got stabbed. Someone exposed themselves. It was just a bad environment. And for me, like, these people, the drug users, were at one point my peers. So I'm kind of hip to the manipulation skills and tactics, whereas the employees that work there don't have an experience being a drug addict. They're just kind people who want to help. So for me, I'm seeing like the manipulation tactics, and I'm seeing like the other side of the coin. Like, not everyone that has a drug addiction is a saint or a good person, right? They're like, everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves a chance. And I'm like, no, they don't. Not everyone deserves a chance. I'm sorry. Yeah. They just don't. Like, it is what it is. But they don't care. That's not my concern. Is to help someone. I'm like, well, what if you're helping like one of the worst people and but they don't want to say that. But I'm like, the truth is, some of them are, right? And I know what it took for me to get clean and sober, and it wasn't someone fucking giving me a clean crack pipe, So I don't know. I disagreed with it to a certain sense. Like, yes, you are giving them clean supply, and no, I don't think that without you they wouldn't do drugs. But at the same time, like, you need a kick in the ass. And again, that's just my personal opinion, but you need a kick in the ass.
I mean, you seem to lean more on that it's an enabler instead of a preventive.
Well, it is. It
so.
is. I think it's. I don't think it's preventative at all. I think it is an enabler. But with that being said, I do think that they are saving lives. I think that the naloxone they give out probably has saved countless lives. And I think the clean needles that they gave out have probably saved a lot of people from getting HIV. But it's not preventing it. It's not, it's not, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. A lot of times that, that people do what, what they think will help the most, but also that act of helping and giving is a part of making them feel better about their lives and what they've done. And so,
yeah,
I think there's a lot to it. Any little bit that helps, I think, is good. But I can definitely understand where you're coming from. You can see the manipulation, and you do not think that that's helping them get off the drugs. You think it's a part of an enabler.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think. Well, I mean, part of my job was to be an educator, a peer educator, and to help them with resources to get off of that track. But that's not the place that those people are at. So what I'm offering is going to fall on deaf ears, because the people who use our services are there for those services. They're there for the clean needles and the clean pipes. Well, if you're there to pick up a clean needle and a clean pipe, you're not there to talk to me about how to get off of drugs. That's just not that's not it. And if you are, you're just trying to manipulate the situation. You're lying to yourself, which is detrimental. I think you shouldn't have those two places, those two things at the same place, because you have to be at a certain point to get off of drugs and to go on that certain way. And listen, you're not thinking about that when you're waiting for a crack pipe. That's just the truth. You're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to come talk to me about, getting the right stuff and getting in the right direction, then you also can't be like, okay, just 2 seconds, I just got to go out and smoke this bowl. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like one or the other.
Where do you find
you can't have someone coming in for...
They talk about being at rock bottom. Where do you find the people that would be receptive to your message?
I think maybe at a halfway house or something where, they're starting their trip, their journey. But I don't know. As far as, again, I know how this sounds, but I can only speak from my own experience, and that is that there is no rock bottom. There's like, what rock? Death is the only rock bottom, and even then, you come back. I did, and did I stop? Nope. So rock bottom's a myth. I think things just get shittier and shittier and shittier, but I wouldn't know what to say to someone who's experienced a rock bottom. It's really, from my experience, it's just, you just gotta fucking do it. That's it. Just stop. Get the help. And if you can't get help, then, no one can do it for you. No one's gonna, and we do it. I don't know. I don't know, man. I guess I fell out of patience with myself. I gave myself every opportunity to do the right thing, and I never did, until I finally had enough. And I was like, all right, if you're not going to fucking do this right, then you're not going to have it at all. And I was going to end my life because I just, what? If you're not going to do it right, then don't fucking do it. And I still carry that anger with me. I've lost a cousin last year, and I lost a close friend to overdoses just recently during my sobriety. And I'm like, all you had to do was fucking get the help. Mm-hmm. And it's there. The help is there. Reach out. I don't know. It's tough, man. It's really tough, because if someone were the way I am to me when I was in my addiction, I wouldn't have made it. If I didn't have that compassion that Sarah gave me, and that understanding and that patience, I wouldn't have made it. But now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, I don't have that same compassion. I don't have that same patience, and I don't have that same,
Well, you may one day. Right now it's a fresh, open wound. Right now you're
right.
2 years out from a complete change in 37 years of your life. Well, I guess you weren't drunk when you was high when you was a baby, but at least 20 some odd years of your life, So it's an open, festering wound right now, I would think. But I think compassion. There's many kinds of compassion, and I can tell you, one kind of compassion is what Dallas gives people, and that's tough love. The Dallas, he's so loving and caring, but his love comes with the tough love variety. He ain't gonna put up with any bullshit.
Right. And that's kind of how I feel, and I'm in the same boat. And I think that, I think that that's a way of protecting ourselves as well. I'm not going to jeopardize what I've created um, by falling prey to those tactics, you know, because
Yeah.
I care about people, and that also, bites me in the ass more often than not. So I've learned to kind of protect myself through tough love,
Mm-hmm.
because I get to say, well, at least I'm still loving you, but I'm protecting myself at the same time.
We go back to, you gotta do what you gotta do to take care of Jeremy first.
Yeah.
What was that other job you said you'd been doing?
So it was, I worked as a mentor to young adults, university aged adults who are on the autism spectrum. So I was just a mentor. I would go to a cooperative farm, um, and I was responsible for kind of teaching basic skills, more or less, for these people who are independently living. So I helped. I had a few participants, but I would help them individually make supper. Follow recipe instructions, bake, laundry. If you have any hospital or doctor's appointments, it could be helping them with hygiene. For instance, if I notice my participant bad breath, or his teeth are yellow, I would have to find out, okay, why aren't you brushing your teeth? And it might be something as simple as like the toothbrush is in my bedroom and not at my sink. Things like that. Just little things that can help them navigate their day without causing so much stress on them. So that's basically what I did. Also, they're a cooperative farm, so we took care of their chickens, donkeys, goats, and they had vegetables as well that we harvested. So it was just conversations, seeing what their days like, what their weeks like, any issues they're having, and just kind of be an ear as well. And I did that, but then again, it was like there were a couple incidences where um, there were like little fights between the participants. Nothing major, but it was, when you're dealing with people on the spectrum, sometimes communication can be difficult. So, yeah, there was an argument between two of the participants, and it got loud. And almost immediately, I like got into that panic mode. And I think it stems back to growing up in a broken household, of the screaming, the fighting, the yelling, and then not to mention all that shit that I created myself. Um, so yeah, once there were too many of those instances where I felt like it was harming me. I had to respectfully decline and bow down. It was tough because I really enjoy the people I worked with, and I enjoy the people I worked for. Um, but it just yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm not fixed myself. Um, which has been another struggle, man. Is that like I want to give everything that I have right now. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why? Keep it. Like, keep this for yourself, man. Like, I'm just giving it out to everyone, and I don't realize that, like, every time I, like, give this out, it's like, that's it. I only have so much that I can give, and I find that, I want to give it to everyone, and then all of a sudden I don't have any left for myself. So I was like, okay, get back to working on yourself, get back to fixing yourself. So that's that was my goal in leaving that job.
When we first got on this talking, you said that you were going through some interesting times. What did you mean by that?
Well, our living situation, our environment, we've been living with my in-laws for 9 months now, with my 10-year-old and my 5-year-old. Um, and it's been a change because we're two different families. There's their family, and then there's my idea of my family. Um, and we moved in here. We sold our house because the market was good. So we sold our house. My wife is back to school right now to be a teacher, so she's in university. So financially, we kind of need to be here, and it was planned. Um, but I find that I'm losing my role as father or parent, because of all of the chefs in the kitchen. Now all of a sudden there's like 5 chefs, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And not only that, but like I'm just starting my life right now. I'm just starting to be the father I want to be. I'm just starting to be the husband I want to be. I'm just starting to be this new person I've created. And all of a sudden it's put on hold because of our living environment, right? Like I can't practice any of these things because it's not my home and it's not the way they do things. Not that there's anything wrong with the way they do things. I mean, unless you ask me.
Yeah.
But it's just not this. It's not the same way. So it's very stressful because I have an idea of how I want my life to go, especially now being clean and sober, and I'm losing that, and I feel like I'm losing that to their own family and the way that they have their living environment. And it's not the same thing. Like I don't live the same way they live. I'm different. Uh, I'm an oddball. I swear in front of my kids. Not angrily, but like, I swear. I make jokes. And I'm just myself. I can't be myself here. Uh, and but I feel obligated because what am I doing? How am I providing? I'm not doing anything. And again, well, idiot, that's what happens when you spend 20 years of your life being a drug addict. Now look, well, here's your consequences. You're stuck at your in-laws house because you haven't been able to provide anything different, right? So, and I mean, they're great people, and we don't fight, we don't argue, but I'm literally just a prisoner in this house. I'm sitting in the back, like keeping to myself because I don't want to participate in the way that they run their household. I disagree with it. So it's just easier to kind of let the storm pass for now. We're not going to be here forever, and I don't want to disrupt. Listen, just because I've changed my life doesn't mean you have to change yours. And if I make your life uncomfortable with the way I'm living mine, then I'll just stay away from you because I'm not going to change. I work damn hard to be who I am right now. So I'll just stay away from you,
Mm.
and that's kind of where it is. So,
I mean, two things. I think one is that you're definitely the oddball out because she grew up in that family. That's their family, and now these are the grandkids, and you were definitely the oddball out of that relationship, and I think some of those feelings are damn sure justifiable. The other thing I would think that as a man, I think part of our biology, part of our ingrained um, worth as a man is that we feel like we are meant to provide for the family, and that I think like the woman, these are roles that we picture that are supposed to be we're the provider, that the woman's the nurturer, and so we have these ideals, and it's wrapped up in our self worth, and so if like when I lost my house, and you know I didn't feel like I was able I wasn't being a parent like I should. My worth was wrapped up in what I could provide to the family, and you know, I think there's a lot of um, I think there's a lot of issues involved in that. How it makes you feel, what your contribution is to the family, and the situation you're in at the moment, and I think that all of those are issues that are legitimate issues that you're going to have to work through. So, um,
Yeah. And I think, like you said about, where do you start when you're eating an elephant, one bite at a time. And I think by, starting work and making that like a must have, not like, okay, I got to get out of here because this isn't, I don't like it, or anything like that. Like, I realized now, because it's come to the point where I've been ready to just like get out of here, like feeling like my sobriety is at risk, because of my mental health. Not because I feel like I'm going to relapse, but I know that if my mental health deteriorates, then it's more likely that I'm going to fuck up. So, based on that, I've been to the point where I'm, going to leave. But, like, where am I going to go? Again, I can't go to any friend's house because all of them are like, here, would you like a beer or some cocaine? So I don't
yeah,
have friends to rely on. I don't have family to rely on. So I literally, like, I'd be on the street right now, and the realization sober that if I lost my wife I'd be homeless, that like has just completely thrown me for a loop, because I've never thought of it before in my addiction. It was just like, I'll be fine. I'll just find a woman to live off of, you know. Um,
hmm
but I'm not that person. And now the realization exactly is like, Jesus, man, like and it is something that we feel as men, inadequate. Like I said, if something happened to my wife, not only would I not be able to take care of myself, but like I've got two daughters now as well. Like what would I do? However, that's so overwhelming of an idea that I have to pick away at pieces in order to not be overwhelmed and feel like it's completely futile, you know? Because like,
hmm
where do I start? I don't know,
You
but
just start.
I know that these are things that I have to do. You just start, exactly. So Dallas called me
You
a
just.
couple days ago. He was
Oh, did you freeze or
concerned,
did?
because I haven't been posting. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought you froze for a minute. What were you saying about Dallas?
Okay. So Dallas called me a couple days ago, because he was concerned with how I was doing, and the first thing he asked me was if I had relapsed, and I said no, and I told him that nothing will ever make me relapse. Like, I will give up everything in order to prevent a relapse, and I said, unfortunately, like, it appears that like it's my family life right now that is that thing that I'm about to give up in order to keep my sobriety, and that's a tough thing um, to realize. Like, none of my issues right now are my issues, other than the fact that I can't take myself out of this position. Um, but anyway, yeah, Dallas had called because he was concerned, and he asked if I had relapsed, and I said no. Um, and the problem being our living environment. Um, but it's that's the reality of the situation, and I can't look past that. Um, now it's like, just because I still have my wife and I still have my kids and I still have my life does not mean I came out of the last 20 years unscathed. You know, I've got all these emotional issues and mental issues that I deal with, but also I am not a productive member of society now. I don't pay my taxes, I don't pay bills, I don't nothing. I want to, and I'll figure out how to, but these are also things that is a repercussion of living the way I did. Um, So
You,
anyway, I told Dallas
hey,
that I didn't have a driver's license. Sorry?
go ahead. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So I had told Dallas that I didn't even have a driver's license, to legally go look for work. Um, so he told me, he said, okay, well, make that a goal then. Go get your driver's book and go, like, is there any reason you can't take it? I said, no. I had to pay off all my fines in order to go to Georgia. So, yeah, that's a goal, is to get that. And it's like you just said, little bites. So
Mm-hmm.
get my license. Okay, well, now I can drive and not have to worry. Or if I do get a job opportunity, they say, do you have your license? I can say yes, and not lie about it. So just getting my driver's license will be a little step in becoming a productive member of society. So that's the first step. Get my driver's license, and then see what goes from there. Now, when I say get my driver's license, this isn't out of necessity from myself. I've been driving for, you know, 30 years. No, 20 years. I've been driving for 20 years without a driver's license. So it's not a big deal to me if I get one or not. But what Dallas said, it's the significance of setting a goal and achieving it. I don't care that you've been driving with no license for 20 years. What's that have to do with anything? We're trying to steer away from that, right? And to care. So that's my first step, I guess, in becoming someone who can take care of themselves. And then we'll see what's after that. I've got a bank card.
Well, I want you to listen to what you just said. This superstar, this person that, you know, I mean, has changed the lives of thousands of people, who is one of the busiest people I've ever met, takes the time to call you and figure out a goal to go get your driver's license. He
Yeah.
cares enough about you, and you are worth enough to go get your to figure out a first step to get you back to where you want to be.
Mhm.
What does that tell you?
I know what it tells me, but what I feel is something different. You know, uh, I'm so damaged that there's still the realization. Like, I understand the truth of what you just said, and the truth that, like, the Dallas Page, of all people, called me because he thought I was upset. I understand the reality of that, and, like, what that means, but I still don't feel like that means anything about me. That just shows what kind of great guy he is. That doesn't tell me anything positive about me. You
No,
understand? Like, that's still how
well, I mean,
my brain works, unfortunately.
yeah, I understand that's the way your brain works, but he wouldn't do it if he felt you had no worth. He does it because he knows that you are special, and that's why he's calling to check on you. If he thought you were some old dopehead that never had a chance to live or take care of the family, he would not waste the time to call you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think there is a reflection back on you of worthiness that he takes the time to call. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but I don't know. But I understand that, the way you see it is, well, for example, when I was down to 219 and 220, um, I still felt really fat, and now I'm at 310 or 315, whatever it is, and I would die to be back down there at 219. I see the pictures now, and I think, shit, man, if I could just get back to that. It's weird the way your brain thinks, and the way you think inside. But all I know is we got to keep fighting. We got to, there ain't no quit. That's all I know, man.
That's it. That's it, man. And no matter what, like
Mm-hmm.
I that is ingrained in my brain. Like I will never ever ever stop again for anything. There's no way. I even in the last week I've been going through a really really bad depression, like one of the worst to date. Um, and you know what I decided to do during that time? I decided to quit smoking during that time to remind myself just who I am.
That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
I don't care. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm just going to keep going.
I love it, man. Well,
Yeah.
Jeremy, I hope I hadn't kept you too long. There's a couple more questions
No.
I usually ask everybody. Um, One is, um, what would you tell someone who's just starting out on their journey?
Consistency. You have to be consistent. Um, and consistency doesn't necessarily mean every day. It doesn't necessarily mean like every other day. Consistency is in here, it's in your mind. And if you're thinking about it, then do it. And you have to be consistent in your thinking and you have to be consistent in your doing. They're hand in hand. But if you just stay consistent in both, then like time's going to pass. So as long as you're thinking about the positive things that you should be thinking about and whatever it is that you want to accomplish, and then you do physical steps to match that way of thinking, then it will happen. There's no, it just, listen, it's the law of nature. That's what happens. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So once you get going, just stay consistent. And like time passes, and all of a sudden, whatever you were trying to accomplish, you are accomplishing. So consistency is key.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I agree. How much more school does your wife have to be before she becomes a teacher?
She has. She will be done in for next September. So I guess 9 months. She has about 9 months left, roughly. Does that make sense?
Well, shit, you can do anything for 9 months.
Yeah,
You can make
yeah.
9 months. Shit.
I think yeah, 9 months now. She'll be done by then. Yeah.
Well,
um,
you can stand on your head for 9 months, man.
yeah. Well, Vance, my friend, um, we're also expecting a baby.
Really? Congratulations,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you. No one knows until right now.
Well, congratulations,
So,
man. I'm so proud
thank
of
you.
you. Happy. That makes me happy. So congratulations. Wait,
Thank you.
you're gonna have to find a new place to tattoo a name on you now. Shit.
Yeah.
You
Oh, there's still some place.
got. She's gonna end up
We
on the
got
face, you know.
yeah, probably. We have an ultrasound next week, so we're gonna go find out if it's a boy or a girl. And the due date is August 26th. So,
Well,
and
congratulations, man.
even with this, Vance, like, my wife is in the same boat as me. Like, she started to get her school in before we found out that she was pregnant. So now she could have been like, all right, well, I guess I'm done school. But
Yeah.
no, she's going to go to school until she has the baby. And then she's going to go right back to school immediately after. I'm going to stay home with the baby. But, we both have that mentality of like nothing is stopping us from what it is we want. And I don't think either of us are specific with what we want as long as we're happy and healthy.
Well, I mean, I think your life kind of got you ready for this moment. I mean, you studied what early childhood in school. I mean, you've got the skills to
Yep.
take care of a kid, and
Yep.
and you got 5 months to to get ready for this new child. Plus, you're there with your in-laws who can help, which is always huge. You know, you've been through those newborn first few months, so it's huge to be there with
Yep.
your in-laws. So man,
Yep.
I think it's awesome. So you just need to keep you just need a job to keep what they say the um, time is idleness is the devil's playground or something like that. You just need
Yep.
you a job for
Yep.
5 months to keep you focused until that child gets here, and then
Yes.
your focus will change completely.
Yep. And it has. I've already thought about that, man. Like, I mean, if I could make money and stay home to raise my girls, then that's heaven to me, man. I just need a house in the woods
Yeah.
and an income, and that's it. Like, I was born to be a father, to be completely honest with you. Like, that's my calling. So I'm super excited to have another child, and I think finally I'm at a stage in my life where I'm going to be able to be the best version of that, and at the same time it's going to like add to my own life, like I I I don't know. Yeah, I'm super excited, man, and I think it's going to help me achieve what I want to as a man, and that's to be a provider and to be a protector. So yeah, I'm excited, man.
Well, I'm proud of you. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's good. Hell, start a podcast. That might be your way to make money and stay at home. Who knows? I think there's a
Well,
million ways to make money over the internet these days.
that's right. Well, I was talking to you in Georgia because I was talking about your book, and you had given me some insight about that. And that's something that I've still kind of dug into. I've reached out to a couple people, and that's something that I think might be my next big goal is to publish my memoirs. And that's one of those things that like I can spend some time on. It can be a continuous goal, right? It's not one of those things like getting my license, for example. That's all
Right.
right. There's one goal. What's the next one? This is one of those goals that will, you know, take some time and get it out there. So yeah, I think that's something that I'm interested in as well.
Well, you know that a lot of those guys. Well, I don't know about a lot of them, but the couple that stuck out in my mind is that they write every day. They have a set. Like I think James Lee Burt gets up and he writes so many, like an hour or so many pages in the morning, and then in the evening he redoes it, and then he gets up and does it again the next day, and there's it goes back to what you were talking about, consistency. And I think John Maxwell writes every day. That those people, they whether they say anything good or not, or even make sense, they just get up and they write, just like you getting up and going to the gym. They do it day in and day
Yeah.
out, and sooner or later a book comes out of it. It's that consistency that finally gets the book done. So,
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is like I have that in my toolbox now. The tool of consistency. I know what it takes to be consistent. So, now just get it out and let it happen.
just start writing.
Yeah.
It don't even have to make sense. Just start writing, and then at some point it'll all come together. It'll start making sense, and then you'll get to where you got something you want to work with. So,
Yeah.
all right, man.
And
Well,
at some point I'm sure that there won't be enough time,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, when that baby gets here, shit, man, you may need
Yeah.
some. You may need some of that crack to keep you up. That baby's gonna keep you up. Shit, you don't get any sleep when that baby first gets here.
Oh, get none. No.
None,
No,
man.
especially that I told her I'd be taking the responsibility. So
Yeah,
now I've got to. There's no honey, can you? No honey,
yeah.
can you? None of that.
No, yeah, hey, well, try to talk her into breastfeeding. That gets you out a lot of it. So, but if they don't breastfeed,
She has. Yeah, that's what she did for Maddie and Poppy. But I think she's on to that now. She's like, oh, you mean if I just pump and put this in, I can stay sleeping at 3? All right. I have a feeling she's gonna have a pump.
Yeah, that's right. She done learned that trick.
She's learned. Yeah, she caught on pretty quick.
All right, man. Well, tell any words of wisdom or last words before I cut you loose. I've kept you damn near 3.5 hours.
Didn't feel like it at all, man. It's, any words of wisdom? I guess for everyone that's listening, I mean, I'm pinching myself right now, and it lets me know that I'm real. So it's that simple, guys. We're all real people, and we all, there's nothing magic. There's no magic pill. It's just you got to do it. And if you think it's impossible, look at Vance, look at me, look at Jake. There is nothing that's impossible. Look at Justin Dobbins. There's guys. I'm telling you, there's no excuses. There's just doing.
Yeah. What is that, Yoda? There is no. There is
right.
Either do or do not. There is no try.
There is no try. That's right. That's it. That's it. Yes, sir.
All right, man. Don't hang up, okay? Because when I hit stop record, you got to wait. You see this? I think it's going to be over on your right. It tells you how much you uploaded, 99%. You see that? When I hit stop record, as soon as that says 100, as soon as it says completely upload, then you can cut the window.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
it says,
and mine
99% uploaded.
Yeah, and so you notice please notice mine. See, hey, this is a commercial for you with AT&T U-verse. Jeremy, how fast? I've got AT&T U-verse here at home. Jeremy, how much of yours is uploaded?
99%.
Okay, and if he had AT&T U-verse, he too could have. Tell him what I'm uploaded.
Say that again, Vance.
Can you see how much what percentage I'm uploaded?
Nope.
Maybe not. It may not show up on you. I'm at 56%.
But I bet 100.
Yeah, but no. So my U-verse sucks, is what I'm saying. So don't get AT&T U-verse. Every podcast I've done had their upload has beaten me. Everyone. You're like number 12 or 13. Y'all are always 99%, and then when I hang up, it takes hours for AT&T to get finally uploaded. So it is this.
Candace Bergen better get her shit together.
That's right. If you're looking into AT&T U-verse and you've listened to this podcast, do not get AT&T U-verse. So, all right, man. So all right, I'm gonna hang up. Anything before we go, Jeremy? Any last words?
It's been a pleasure, Vance. I really look up to you, and I think what you've done is amazing, and I wish you all the best in any future endeavor you decide to take.
Thank you, Jeremy. I wish you the same. Thank you for doing this podcast, man. It was a joy to meet you out there in Atlanta when I got to meet you. So hold on, let me stop it. Thank you for listening to the podcast today. I'm your host, Vance Hines of Transform with Vance, where transformations begin every day. Please take a moment, if you will, if you like the podcast, to subscribe and follow, and you can find us on social media as well, either under Vance Hines or Transform with Vance. Please tune in and subscribe to our feed. You'll be able to hear lots of transformation stories. I'm in search of interviewing as many transformations as I can find. So if you have a transformation that you would like to have someone interview and have their and appear on the podcast, just send me the name and number, message me, and I'll reach out to them and try to get them here. But no matter what, a better life begins on the mat. Get on the mat and start your transformation today. Thank you.